Roll call, please.
Commissioner Arnone.
Here.
Commissioner Bosco.
Here.
Commissioner Sakala.
Here.
Commissioner Casati.
Here.
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Denny.
Here.
Commissioner Falk.
Here.
Chairman Ludwig.
Here.
Commissioner Muller.
Here.
Vice Chairman Suzak.
Here.
Commissioner Ungary is absent. We have 10 members present.
Item number 2, the approval of minutes, special meeting, June 4th, 2018. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Councilor Falk, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Arnone. Any discussion on the special meeting, motion of approving June 4th, 2018? Hearing none by a show of hands, all those in favor? Opposed, any abstentions? 10 in favor, 0 against. Item number 3, we're going to allow public communications tonight. And folks, we have a very tight schedule. We have a next meeting at 6:30, so we're going to allow one, so everyone gets a chance to speak. 3 minutes, sorry, and then 1 chance to speak during public. And again, specific to the water pollution control, if you want to wait till the regular meeting to talk to the council, that starts at 7. But this is specifically on the water pollution control. Would anyone like to speak before this commission? Sir. You have to come up, sir, to the mic and your name and address. Sorry.
That's all right.
And if the button, just click the button, it should be on bright red, name and address, 3 minutes. Thank you. Welcome, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Dave Sacerdote. I live at 29 O'Hare Avenue. In my eyes, this ready-to-serve fee is nothing more than a tax under a different name. The budget for the water pollution control facility went before voters and was approved at referendum, and if you needed more money, you should have come before the voters, not hold a special meeting with some people who are here to educate us. Don't cram it down our throats. Tell us what's going on. A much better way to do it would be to form a budget for the water pollution control facility, count the number of houses in town, divide it by that, and just charge us a flat fee. And that's what I feel we should have done to begin with. And I'd like to see us do something like that again. But fix it this way. Don't give us a ready-to-serve fee which is nothing more than a tax under a different name. My sewer taxes, and I'm going to call it a tax, more than doubled with that ready-to-serve fee. And I'm really upset about it, and I'm sure there are a lot more people who are upset about it who didn't come to this meeting. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Ma'am? Welcome, name and address. Thank you. Appreciate it.
My name is Dawn Perkoski. I live at 384 North Maple Street. Just press the button. Sorry. Dawn Perkoski, 384 North Maple Street. It's bad enough that I have to have a higher rate than most people. I'm one person with a well, and I get a flat fee of $43.84 charged to me, and it's ridiculous. But now when I called to find out why I'm getting charged $21, it's my understanding that there was already a maintenance fee worked in with this. And that's all this sewer tax ready to serve is. They told me it was to maintain the lines. What happened to the maintenance budget is what I want to know. There was already a maintenance budget, and that's what this is. That's what I was told on the phone when I called. So if there was a maintenance budget and that's been gone through, why wasn't the budget looked at again? And why are they allowed to then charge without any consideration? I was told I should be happy I'm being charged the small meter rate. I don't have a meter. I shouldn't be happy at all. So I don't understand this at all, and I'm not happy. And people who have 3 people in their family are paying less for their sewer than I am.
Thank you. Karen.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing if they know who you are before they call you up.
Memory's good.
Yeah, Karen LaPlante, 166 North Maple Street. I'll try to breeze through this quickly. As you know, I'm responsible for paying 4 sewer bills, 2 well services and 2 metered services with Connecticut Water. I received the bills quite late in September. They were through, the 2 metered bills were through July 15th, and the well ones were through the end of June. So I recalculated the bills I received based on the same way, to my understanding, all other utilities recalculate their bills when an increase happens. You first calculate the bill at the old rate, then you calculate the bill at the new rate, and then take the percentage of days at the old rate and the new rate and multiply it times those and add them together. So you have 20% at the old rate, 80% at the new rate, and that's what your bill comes out to. The well owners don't have dates of coverage on their bills, but if you remember, the sewer service started effective January 1st, 2014. Taking the well user bills first, I calculated the amount, and so the bill I received would have been the second quarter billing, which would be through the end of June, and that wasn't after the rate increase of July 1st. The rate increase didn't go into effect till July 1st. So I recalculated my sewer bill based on the rates effective for April, May, and June, and I paid the person at the tax office the $43.32, which was the old rate, not the $64.84 that was printed on the bills. That included the ready-to-serve charge. For my 2 metered accounts, I was also surprised that the bill wasn't, I believe, properly prorated. They prorated the rate, but they did not prorate the $21 fee. And it's my understanding that should also be prorated, because on my first bill, I had consumption less than the minimum charge at the old rate, so that would have been the $13 minimum charge, and the new rate would have been a certain number, but one bill was should have been for $17.52. It was $34.59, and I believe the second bill should have been $15.77 and not the $27.79 that was printed on the bill. So I requested the balances totaling $72.13 on those 4 bills to be corrected by Becca in the finance office, and I was told that the $21 fee was a fixed charge for 1 day or 90 days, and no credit was due, and that well owners would have to pay the $21 also.
Sorry.
Is it 3?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Do we get a second chance, maybe?
Depends. We
Okay.
have a 6:30
All right.
presentation. Sorry, Karen. Sir. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. Charles Harris, 5 O'Hare Avenue. Now, from what I understand, the article that said we were going to have the meeting tonight, this ready-to-serve charge that was added covers this quarter, that up until this time, and the next quarter coming in. Is that correct? Do you know?
It won't be a back and forth, so we'll answer it when we. Yep.
Okay, and well, my wastewater service was only $23.73, and the ready-to-serve charge, like the other ladies, I presume other people have a $21 charge also. It's kind of like a flat fee. And I understand ready-to-serve is, okay, we're ready to take care of your sewage. That's not hard to figure out. But it was kind of snuck in on us, I think. There was no if there was notification, it's where they put it, back of the paper. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anyone else like to speak? Sir.
Ronald Army, 30 Field Road.
Welcome.
First off, this outfit that did the, I guess, the estimations, Did you get them by some type of bid, by an RFP? How did they come to have this job? Oh, I don't get an answer? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we can't have back and forth, Mr. Army.
Okay. All right. So if these guys or people, ladies, whatever, if you hired them and you went out from a bid, I would assume you must have had some type of a walkthrough. You must have had some type of a meeting. Somewhere along the line, they came up with that $4 million figure. Now, it jumped to $6 million. So they missed it by a half. So, you know, I'd kind of like to know how they didn't, that's not even close, really. If you came out with a budget of 160 million and later on you found out it was 240, you'd have a lot of people upset. And a lot of people should be upset just by you hiring somebody that can't come closer than a half. That's just terrible. Do we get a line-by-line budget for this stuff? Does a line-by-line budget exist? And of the $6 million, what part of that $6 million is the maintenance of the sewer facility, salaries, et cetera, and what part of the $6 million is the infrastructure repair? And where was the mistake made? I mean, that's a big, big mistake, okay? And when did they discover this mistake? And then we came out with the Marine Corps recruiting slim, ready to serve, you know. Well, so far I haven't been served or had to be served, which has, I suppose, been very lucky. And the original budget ended in 2015. I assume that's correct. Could you find out for me, please, how much was the budget then that the town paid? And did that money just get folded into the general fund and then we were told there was no tax increase? When probably there was. In fact, thinking about it now, I think there should have been a tax decrease because you took the daily maintenance of the sewer out of the general budget and you factored it into a fee. Now, I've also heard a rumor that you're going to stop having a line item with the police and there's just going to be a fee. And that way you can say we cut your taxes by 40%. Because then what we'd do is we'd pay a fee to have a police department, which I don't think would be a good plan.
Mr. Army, about water pollution control, not about the cops.
I understand that, but you know, we pay a fee to go to the dump. We pay a fee now for our sewer. That's really a tax. You know, you pay a fee to drive your car here or there or everywhere. That's all a tax, and it should be called a tax, and I should be able to deduct it on my federal income tax. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak for the Water Commission? Jack?
Oh, this chair's on the ground.
You gotta come off the chair, though, Jack. Use the taller chair, or use the other. Taller chair for shortcuts.
Jack Sheridan, 7 Buchanan Road. I agree that this is a tax, and it was a cool way to try and get into my pocket again. You took a $500,000 off the taxes when you switched from the ad valorem to this system, and it should have been more like a full mill. But in addition to that, this Woodward and Curran outfit, horrible. They come up with a rate that they claimed was commensurate with everybody else surrounding towns and stuff, and then you come back in a short time later and say that rate's no good. Then on top of that, we get another report where Woodward and Curran is referenced, and it's on the Public Works. And under the water pollution control, they talk about adding people, $240,000. They have in here on recommendation 16, it says the Water Pollution Control Division is charged for equipment maintenance and repair approximately $140,000 a year, the basis for which could not be ascertained. So if there's $140,000 just disappearing for whatever reason, then we can see why they want to pick our pockets. You know what bothers me? We paid for the sewer lines when they put them in. It was part of the ad valorem system. And then you get $39 million for updating and fixing the sewer system. $39 million. What happened to it? Where did it go? Why do they have to add a service fee? We never had it before. We never had a service fee. It's just a way of thinking that there's people out there that are tax exempt for whatever reason, churches or whoever, and you want them to pay? Well, you got to figure out another way because we're already paying. We're paying, and it never ends. And then, like the last gentleman said, every time, whether it's the garbage collection, which they even say in this report that they should start charging for anything more than one tip per barrel, you can see it just happening. We're still going to have the same rate of tax, but then we're going to have to pay for all these other services. And I don't know where it ends. I don't know what you have to do to prevent this from happening, but you shouldn't be doing this. It's not right. And my bill doubled, and nothing happened, no extra use or anything. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. One more person, sorry for this, because we're going to have to move on. Ed?
Wow. Use the big chair here. Hello? Okay. Ed Paremba, 8
Welcome.
Overhill Road, Enfield, Connecticut. I've been a homeowner for over 42 years here in Enfield, and I like some of the previous speakers. I'm going to go back in history, and probably Mr. Falk will remember Vendy Santa Croce as our finance director when he came across this. I'm sure Mr. Crissati remembers too. And, Vendy did this whole hookups, from day one. Each year in the budget, we'd allocate funds and so forth to cover the maintenance and costs and this. No problems. Nothing's broken. All of a sudden, things are breaking down in this town. I have no idea why, unless you're looking for another way to tax, which is this fee. And what's upsetting to me, communication. You folks were striving good communications previous years. I never knew this $21 and some odd change was going to go through. I know back in December 31st, 2013, the town of Enfield sent out the changes they were going to make. I don't know what happened this time around. They said effective January 1st, how they're going to bill us and so forth. And they said changing the way the treatment plant operations are financed will allow Enfield to apply for a substantial amount of grant and low-interest loan funds from state and federal sources, which will offset the cost to taxpayers. What does offset the taxpayers mean to me? If I put $1, you're going to match $1. I don't see that happening. And another thing that really, really upset me, I went back and, some of the mill rates that we charged, going back, for the taxes includes water pollution control, operation and maintenance. And that's the key word. Are we really maintaining the water pollution plant? In my eyes, I don't think so. The funds were there for capital improvements year after year. How it was spent, I have no idea. In conclusion, the voters in this community approved a referendum in 2015 to spend $36 million to update aging infrastructure. And it's no longer adequate, according to 2 engineers at Woodard and Curran, a company specializing in wastewater budgets, hired in 2000 to analyze 2013. I don't know what happened. The taxpayers in this community put their trust in you folks, not up here, but the council, to support the referendum. Now, I can't trust anyone. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, all.
As well. Ma'am, when the regular meeting comes up, you'll be the first one I call on. Sorry. Sorry about that. Really apologize. I have to declare public communications closed. Item number 4, old business. Do we have any old business? Item number 5, new business. Do we have any? Item 6, discussion resolution. Okay, make sure any. Resolution authorizing the chairman of the WPCA to sign the general permit registration form for the discharge of vehicle maintenance wastewater with the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. Resolved that Michael Ludwig, chairman of the Water Pollution Control Authority, is authorized to sign the general permit registration form for the discharge of vehicle maintenance wastewater with the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection in the name and in behalf of the Water Pollution Control Authority, and affix the corporate seal.
So moved.
By Deputy Mayor Deputy Commissioner Suzak, seconded by Commissioner Falk. Any discussion?
No, it's in affiliation with the new truck wash, and the DEP requires this application, and you, in your capacity as Chairman of Water Pollution Control, need to sign it and authorize the filing of the application to allow the truck wash to go online in accordance with DEP regulations.
Any questions or concerns from any commissioner? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Arnone,
4.
Commissioner Bosco,
4.
Commissioner Sakala,
4.
Commissioner Casati,
4.
Commissioner Davis,
4.
Commissioner Denny,
4.
Commissioner Falk,
4.
Chairman Ludwig,
4.
Commissioner Muller,
4.
Vice Chairman Suzak.
4.
That's 10 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Item B, under items for discussion, resolution to correct the sewer service fee schedule for fiscal year 2018-2019. Whereas the 2018-2019 sewer service fee schedule that was attached to the resolution number 6281 adopting the sewer usage fees for fiscal year 2018-19 contains several typographical errors, and whereas the Water Pollution Control Authority wants to correct these errors and provide the correct sewer service fee schedule information to residents on the town website. Now therefore be it resolved that the Enfield Water Pollution Control Authority hereby adopts the corrected sewer service fee schedule for fiscal year 2018-2019 attached herein as attachment A, submitted on September 28th by the Director of Finance.
So moved.
By Commissioner Arnone, seconded by Commissioner Falk. Any, Jonathan?
John Wilcox is here to discuss. They were, as are stated in the memo, typographical errors and some errors that have been brought to our attention in the course of implementing it, also from public speakers at past meetings. So this is an attempt to clarify and correct it. I would just like to say to everybody here, going forward, we're going to be consistent with the philosophy of this council and of my office that there has to be communication. There has to be full disclosure in regard to, and transparency. Well, we've been doing it. When we've changed in the last 4 or 5 months any fees for senior center or recreation, we post on the website, we do a press release. When we do anything in regard now to bridges, South River Street, we post it on the website with an update on a weekly basis, and we also do press releases. We've done it for Henry Barnard School. An update will be going up tomorrow and pictures of that facility. We're doing it with the Water Pollution Control Facility. The groundbreaking is coming up. And that is about 5% completed, but we're posting that on the website so people can see what the progress is going forward. So my philosophy has been we try to bring forth a meeting such as this, which hasn't been done before. We did it at 6 o'clock so people would have an opportunity to come and not have to wait till 7 or at the end of the next meeting. We then put things out and make corrections in an open way on the website. We are doing press releases on all major announcements, and we're trying to educate the public. This hasn't been done before. I think it's evidence that the council wants to reach out, and we are listening. And if there are changes to be made, you come, you listen. Everything that's been asked of this evening, I will forward to Mr. Wilcox, and he will address each and every one of them in writing. We will send it to the council. We will put it on the website, and we will, if you leave your address with the clerk, we'll give it to you to your email directly as well. Change doesn't happen overnight. I know people are upset with this. I wasn't here. All that I can promise is going forward, this council has said to me, we want to be open, we want to be transparent, and we're doing that. Novak report, we had a presentation for an hour, and we let people come and hear what the recommendations were. We posted it on the website. Honeywell, we had an hour presentation. We posted it on the website, and we did a press release. So I don't know if anybody has suggestions as to what more we can do than that. I'm open to it, but we take it very seriously. I know the council does too. All of these questions will be answered. Anybody at home who has any further questions, please send them to my office, and we'll make sure Mr. Wilcox answers all of those as well. John?
Welcome.
As I stated in the cover memo that is attached, there were a couple of typographical errors on the original rate sheet. One is that the summer discount rate was noted at 7%, and it has been 7.5% since we implemented it, so I wanted to correct that. The other one was the statutory interest, minimum interest that's set by the state of Connecticut was listed as $2.02. The minimum is actually $2. So we needed to correct that. And finally, just for clarification purposes, it was, the ready-to-serve charge was supposed to be applied for all well users at the minimum meter size rate. That wasn't stated on the original, and I added that to it for clarification.
Any questions? Sorry, any questions from Council Commissioner Denny?
Well people don't have meters. So how are we charging well meters for a meter size when well people don't have a meter? I don't get that. I still don't. And I don't get that either Connecticut Water or Hazardville Water is charging us to read their meters when these people that have wells don't have a meter to read, so they're involved in getting a charge for that. It might be 5 cents or 20 cents, but people with wells are paying way more than people that don't have wells. I don't get it. And now this is all we're gonna correct is a few items. We need to go back to the drawing board. We also need to go back, while I got the floor, is this commission needs to be disbanded from the council and have a regular commission here, that they can monitor this on a monthly basis. And that's not for you, John. I'm not craving for you, but this is ridiculous. We're here, and now 30 minutes next on the agenda. This needs to be done like a council meeting is done. We have enough to do with trying to budget with the town. I don't have the time or the knowledge to do water pollution control. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
I guess my comment would be, and maybe Tom can help me out on this, because Tom and I and Joe, we sat on a subcommittee and we looked at all these things, and there was a hesitance to go to a flat rate. We looked at all the surrounding towns. We looked at what our rate would have been at the 1 mil, and a flat rate would have been about $250 a year. I think we need to maybe we do need to go back to the drawing board. Personally, I would prefer a flat rate. Town can bill it. The billing is gone. We don't have to bother with the water company. We don't have to do anything. But we have to do one thing. We have to make sure we know who's connected to the sewers. Something that we're not quite clear on all the time. We're always finding out things that we think are correct, and they're not. And it's very difficult for us to make decisions. So for me, I think that we tried to make it so that it was, I guess, lack of a better word, cheaper for people who didn't use a lot of water. But I said that was when I first came on the council, but it came very apparent that the young families that used a lot of water were really, carrying the burden of the sewer user fee. So this flat rate was to hope to levelize it off, because when it was in your tax rate, you were paying close to $200 a year. And a lot of people dropped from 200 to 54. And there was a huge gap there. And this commission did change what was supposed to be the 5-year rates to have deduct meters, which made it more fair, to have a 7.5% reduction in the summer to hopefully make it more fair. But what we did is we widened the gap of what we needed to run it, maintain it, and, do our improvements that were required. So for me, I would love to see, it's a one-year thing, I'd love to see the WPCA subcommittee meet again and maybe look at just, let's make it simple, because simple is always better, and find out and know who uses the sewers, and we go to the flat rate type system for our residents. So that's my feelings.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, this wasn't meant to address those larger concerns. What we did use it for was a vehicle for those people who were dissatisfied and had comments to be able to come forward so you could hear that. We fully intend now, and what we're doing, again, that's different from the past. We used to do everything in the budget in a 2 or 3 week period where everything was jammed in, there was no analysis, you couldn't get the data. We've moved that out. We're having meetings every week on budget issues so that you will have made decisions that will impact the budget when you have the time to consider everything. This is one of them. The new budget's coming up. We will look at this. John will work, give you options, flat rate, and other options. It's never going to satisfy everybody. It's not going to be completely fair. No tax is. But if it's something we want to consider, and I wasn't here for the last budget. I know with the state, people were rushed. It was a difficult time to get it done, plus this big change. Now we have the time to look at it, and we have the dignity of a few months before the next budget season starts. And that's what I promised. We're going to look at it. We'll have another meeting, another 6 to 7. John can come up with alternatives. The public can speak again. And then when the budget comes, if you want to make an amendment, you'll have plenty of time to consider it and do so. But in regard to this one, I think this is a simple, very simple correction of typos. It isn't meant to address all the ails or concerns. We'll get all those answers to people. And everybody at home, I mean it. Anybody else who has concerns, would like to see the flat tax or other considerations, let us know. All of those things we'll have John respond to, and then we'll put those on the agenda for the Public Works Subcommittee so they can start that discussion.
And so maybe the next one of the November meetings.
Yeah, I'm thinking in November we could do it.
This, so folks can come up and speak.
Right. So it isn't over after tonight. This was just the beginning to hear from you.
This was the correction to what we passed in May.
Right.
And to some of the other larger concerns that folks have. Let's have it on either the first or second. We'll have a full hour before the council meeting.
And we'll have some alternatives from John already, and he'll have answers to all of these questions and any others we get.
So we'll make sure it's publicized so everyone, it'll be, if not the first meeting in November, it'll be the second meeting in November.
Yeah, and I will just tell you candidly, from John, who dealt with it, he agrees. There wasn't great communication on this. It was done, and he shares that same concern. He's the one that's been sharing the brunt of responding and having to reach out and talk to people, and he'd be the first to tell you the execution of it and the communication to the public wasn't done well, and that's one thing we're committed to trying to change going forward. And this meeting was part of that attempt.
Commissioner Browsko, quick.
Just real quick, I'm going to vote no. And the reason why I'm voting no is I voted no for the first time. I didn't think it was right. And I'm not going to vote yes until I know that it's right. So with that being said, even though we're going to get some relief of wording, I'm still not going to support it. But the only thing that I see here is if what Karen is saying is correct, we charged people for a fee when it wasn't really applicable. So if we started, we're supposed to start it on July, we started charging the people fee back to January or wherever the quarter was. If that's the case, I think we owe people some money back because I don't think they shouldn't be paying. April. Yeah, I don't think they should be paying for time that they didn't have it. It's not fair. So I'll leave you to that because I know we're running late on time, but you can look into it and get back to me.
Go ahead, John, real quick.
That was a decision basically that I made. I'm going to tell you, and I agree, and I can. The way when we bill for July, we're billing for usage for April, May, and June. Okay, the July amount, that ready to serve charge, was for the coming quarter. Okay, just like in your old phone bills or your cable bills that we all used to get. Maybe you do still, and maybe you don't anymore. But if you don't, there is a monthly fee that they always charge, and that was for the coming month. Then there was the actual usage, whether you rented movies or whether you did whatever, or whatever phone calls you were getting billed for was for the catch-up period. The problem with this is that when would you actually start that charge, okay? So you're looking, do I start it in August? Well, if I start it in August, then I've got 2 months worth of the prior rates. If I start it in September, well, now I've got 1 month of the prior rates. So that I made the decision that I would put that charge going forward, okay? And that's, you know, that was the reason for that decision. And that's why it would not be prorated on that bill. Okay, it would be for the coming quarter, okay? It's not for the coming 2 quarters, it's just for the coming, so it would be July, August, and September. When you get a bill in October, there would be another charge for October, November, and December on it. To address Councilor Denny, you had, I had a thought on the meter charge. It's not, it's based on the meter size or the size of the pipe coming into the house, okay? It's not, we're not charging for the meter because the meter's not ours to start with. It's Connecticut Water's. But the theory is that the size of the plumbing coming into the water pipe coming into the house a lot of times impacts the usage of the meter, of the system itself. So the water, more water comes in, more water is going to be coming out. It's going to be treated by the plant. Okay, so the that regardless of whether you know that you have the referendum was to address costs concerning rebuilding the plant itself. There are additional I think this plant was built in the late 20s, if I remember correctly. So there's a lot of additions to the plant and a lot of things like that are going. So we're working on the $36 million was to address the actual cost of the plant, but we still need to put aside money because the lines that go through the streets, those are all were also put in the 20s and 30s and 40s. They are aging and they need to be replaced, repaired, or whatever. So this ready to serve charge kind of goes towards that portion of it. And you know, regardless of whether you use a lot of the sewage or not, there's still a fixed fee, a fixed cost to have those pipes in the ground in front of your house so that it's ready if you need it. If you don't, you know, that was I think I don't want to take credit for coming up with the name because I didn't, but that was the reasoning I think behind that, is that pipe, that equipment, the pump stations, all that other equipment that is ancillary to the plant itself have to be ready to go, and we need to be able to maintain those so that we don't have breakdowns in the plant itself. Or in the distribution system, the collection system, I guess, is more the appropriate. When those things crush and you have sewage backups in your basements and stuff like that, it's not pleasant.
Thank you. Any other questions?
And we'll have a full presentation with that information and more at the 6 to 7 meeting in November.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, sir. Again, this is the language. The larger discussion on how we bill and everything else will start in November.
Yes.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Arnone.
Here. Or 4. Sorry.
Commissioner Vasco.
Against.
Commissioner Sakala.
4.
Commissioner Crisati.
4.
Commissioner Davis.
4.
Commissioner Denny.
Against.
Commissioner Falk.
4.
Chairman Ludwig.
4.
Commissioner Muller.
4.
Vice Chairman Suzak.
4.
We have 8 in favor, 2 against, no abstentions.
Any items for miscellaneous?
No, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Commissioner Falk, seconded by Commissioner Denny. All those in favor by show of hands? Against? The water pollution control meeting is closed, and we will move on to our Next special guests, Enfield Youth Council. Sorry for the delay. Come on up.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know anything about it. You want a screen down?
guys need
I
a
think I can do that much for you, but yes, I will.
Yeah. No, you're fine, actually.
Oh, there's no sense in putting it.
Yeah, no, you did great. Yeah. This is these, I mean.
Excuse me. Oops.
And this whole thing that we have just keeps getting more and more complex.
Do you know how to do?
Yeah, I do. Just, I'm freezing to death.
Suzanne, I'll make sure she's calling first in most communications. I'm sorry, I'll get you first. Don't have to sign up. Okay, sorry.
Yes, if you plug the sound in.
Was I over the top?
No, you weren't. And I sensed you didn't want to go too much deeper into it, but
I know, but
you know,
I
because
was
there's a
correct.
lot that people just don't realize that whole thing. We didn't have it. It would have been nice to have that within the current year too, to put them on the chopping block.
Yeah.
But they can do a lot of the technical stuff to make it sound, because that's going to be the issue now. You know, is a well person going to get blown out if we just divide it all by?
Yep.
Yeah. Right. So there's a push me pull you there. Right.
But Kara's pointed out that we don't have.
We should have that.
We need to be simple.
I think that's a fact. I can't argue with it. And, you know, the meter size should only be two sizes: the large size and the small size.
What the hell's the meter size got to do with anything? It's, the meter reads something. Whatever that reading says, that's what you use.
It's the extra. It's getting the extra money out of it.
It tells me how many.
Sorry, the meeting's back in order.
Hello. All right.
You got it.
So good evening, everybody. We are the Enfield Youth Council,
And we would want to thank you guys for allowing us the time and opportunity to be here and present our work here tonight. And before we get into our presentation, we would like to go around and introduce ourselves. My name is Jason. I'm a sophomore in Enfield High, and I've been in the Enfield Youth Council for about a year and a half.
My name is Abdullah. I am a sophomore in high school, and I've been in the Youth Council for almost 2 years.
Hi, my name is Wen, and I'm a junior this year, and I've been in the Youth Council for about a year.
Hi, my name is Mustafa. I'm a sophomore in Enfield High, and I've been in the Youth Council for a little over a year.
My name's Angelina. I'm a junior at Enfield High, and I've been in the Youth Council for 2 years.
My name is Dylan. I am a freshman at Enfield High, and I've been in the Youth Council for around 5 months. Also, unfortunately, not all of the Youth Council is here with us tonight, but we do have some other members here in the audience, so we would like them to stand up and share their name.
Hi, I'm Landon. I'm a freshman this year, and I've been a part of the Youth Council for around 5 months.
I'm Ariana. I'm a sophomore at Enfield High, and I've been on the council for about a year.
Hi, I'm Sophia, and I'm a junior at Enfield High School, and I've been in the council for about a year.
Very good. So welcome, thank you. Welcome, you have the floor. I will turn it over, make sure that's on. Is it on? Make sure, just want to make sure. Okay, good. All right, folks, you got the floor, go ahead. Welcome.
We're going to wait until we saw this presentation.
Almost.
Oh, there it is.
There we go.
Oh, security alert.
That thing's probably going to bounce you.
Hey, go to the enable. Yeah, click it, enable.
Yeah.
It's not letting me.
No, not letting you do anything, huh? Call me.
Oh, it froze. It froze. Can you?
Next time we're inviting the computer club and IT to come in.
Maybe somebody from ETV knows how to do that.
If you're listening, Comey, come on down.
Yes, we could. But
Okay, so right on the top, there should be enable editing or enable content.
He clicks
it if nothing happens.
Help is on the way.
So what seems to be the problem? It won't let me click enable content. It won't let you do what? Clicking positions. It froze kind of.
Probably getting the highest ratings we ever got with that thing, I'd say.
Alt, delete.
All right.
When it's,
See if we can get another computer in here and things. Because this one ain't working.
when in doubt, reboot.
Where's IT?
Look at that, they got another computer.
To my parents' home phone. Where do they get all this information? It's borders on harassing.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if it's age related.
Could be.
The fact that I own multiple homes.
Could be both, right? Could be both.
I don't know. Because
my sister and I own it, and she's 5 years younger than me, so I'm wondering if she's getting me as well. So I think that if I'm getting them, there's got to be a lot of.
Can you use my Surface? Use mine. I think I have power.
What is this, VT?
I don't think it makes, no, well, no, it has to be Microsoft, it has to be. No, we'll see.
Microsoft PowerPoint. I have Microsoft PowerPoint.
Do you? Oh, that should work.
I have Microsoft PowerPoint.
Yeah, I'll see if, not
All right,
yet.
to the rescue.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
Uh-oh, we got a screen.
Give that a shot.
Is hard drive in? All right.
There you go.
Yay. Thank you, Comey.
No.
Oh.
No way.
See if we have
It's the
that.
same thing.
Where's the one we normally use here? Who brings that one in?
Same problem.
Yeah, I connect
Oh.
the screen and then it just turns on. We just had that one done too.
Yeah.
I don't tell you.
Do you want to try mine?
So don't go to full screen, that's the issue.
All right, makes sense. Yeah.
If we can do it that way.
Oh.
If it lets us get back out of there. Just plug in.
There you go.
Boot it.
No, but I'm just saying, why is the security
It's something in our, it's something in ours, because it says.
It's something in
Yeah,
our.
'cause it says
Restart
it's
thing.
something for the security, for the IT department put in there, so.
Can we take what you
can't
have
do
on
what
that
they're
thing
doing
and just
right
dump it
now.
We have that problem with our IT as well.
Yeah, every once in a while, you get the rogue computer, says, yeah.
Sometimes it's like,
Yeah, it's a
I want
nightmare.
to kill them.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's just not gonna let that play, 'cause it's not a town computer.
That's why my passwords
It has to
are
have
only
some-
secure from ourselves.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's all right. Go. Young once. You just waiting to reboot? Look how calm and cool and collected they are, huh?
They're not, doesn't bother them.
No?
They're not nervous.
There you go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Drive. And then just putting it onto the computer and the drive. Pulling it from there.
Oh, we could do that.
And maybe the computer's like rejecting it. Just do the same thing. We can see if that works.
All right, so we
Just drag it on there.
check it out.
Yeah. And then eject that.
Eject it?
Yeah, eject it and just take out the flash drive. No. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make a note, probably.
Eject. Just do it. Cancel out of it. Just take it out.
Now try.
Yeah, and then just play it right off the
Try turning that on. Don't worry about that.
Need 6 votes, get it off our plate. WPCA. Oh, yeah, I hear you. Yep. Somebody can go through the budget too, that's important.
It's still the same thing, so I feel like we should just put,
Yeah, don't even, but it's not, there's nothing up on the
Yeah, there's
screen.
nothing else.
Yeah, why is there nothing on the screen?
Is it connected? Do you have something on your screen?
It was a second ago.
No. Wait, excuse me. Yeah, it should be on the screen already.
That's what we're gonna have, that's gonna be.
Give him another minute. Yeah, oh.
Oh. I know, we'll give them,
We do.
yeah, we'll give them a few more minutes. I mean, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, reschedule again.
Well, if they can't do it, they
Right.
have to then. That's,
Yeah, they can come back.
yeah.
I mean, it's
Because
not,
that's what it looks like it's
I
gonna
mean,
happen.
it's not,
'Cause if you're gonna see it, you see the whole thing.
yeah, you've got to see the whole thing.
And then she'll have a computer ready for you next time.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Set this up, but.
And not only if you have a, well, we're not getting a signal out of this thing.
She's got a,
You got a PGA out on this? It's HDMI, right?
No,
I mean, I don't, I know it is.
No.
Don't you have the adapter to put it to that?
No.
no,
So,
So they're done.
$20 for adapter?
no.
The adapter that goes from those prong screw to a thing?
It's like most computers
No,
now
I
have
think,
HDMI.
you know, sometimes they only can use the HDMI. I haven't gotten one that went HDMI to other things or USB to that.
Oh, military
Oh.
does that stuff. That's why my
Well, the older computers had, you know.
Both.
Well, no, usually it would go from, I guess, more
do you guys,
complicated to less
do you guys want to come back November meeting? Okay, I'm sorry. All right, no worries.
You're building up the anticipation.
It's gonna be great.
So first of all, it's,
Maybe just tell us what it's gonna, like, tell us what it's gonna be about, and then.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff.
No, not going to ruin
No.
the
Save it all for that.
surprise.
So,
Save it all.
So first of all, thank you for your patience. Sorry about all this. So let's make sure it's on the agenda for the November 1st, I believe it's the meeting.
We'll invite you back for that meeting, and you'll do your technical testing before, so you know everything's a go. All right?
You got one shot, yeah. They brought in the expert.
Oh, they brought in the big gun.
Go ahead, change it.
Where have you been all this last half hour? Yeah, we've been. Well, I don't know.
I think we do. Sometimes we cancel it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think
I
we've
don't
ever
know.
canceled it.
Yeah, I don't think so. Either. All right.
All right, live
Folks,
camera
don't
action.
make it full screen. First of all, I want to, before you guys get going, the public, we apologize. We've had some technical difficulties. The Youth Council is here to give a presentation to the Town Council and to the Town of Enfield. Thank you for your patience. Folks in the audience, we apologize. I know we're behind schedule, but again, we appreciate your patience. They've worked very hard on this. They wanted to make a presentation to the entire Town Council. So again, we appreciate everyone in the audience who wants to speak, and you'll get your chance. But again, we appreciate your patience. Go ahead.
All right, sorry about the technical difficulty. So today we're going to cover a multitude of different topics, such as our newly introduced project structure, the projects that we've been doing, and just overall what we do in the Youth Council. So who are we? So as a council of 15 high schoolers, we work primarily around substance prevention, and such as marijuana and alcohol use among teens. We approach and tackle substance prevention through making projects, attending conferences, doing PSAs, and more.
Aside from who we are, comes the 7 strategies for community change. So in the Youth Council, we do projects, and our projects are guided by the 7 strategies for community change. And as you can see up here, starting our list off is providing information, and then enhancing skills, providing support, enhancing access or reducing barriers, changing consequences, changing physical design, and finally modifying or changing policies. And as a youth council, we primarily focus on providing information and enhancing skills.
So a little bit more about our projects. Every project in the youth council is assigned to one of our members to take charge. So the leader will then is required to fill out an action plan, which is a concept that we brought back from recent conference. This action plan makes the process of doing projects more systematic and efficient because it makes sure that the tasks of a particular project are to be done by a designated date. So this helps prevent projects from being neglected, and we generally as a council can get more things done. So right now we have an example of an action plan. So the first thing that you want to do is to fill out like the basic demographics of the project, such as the project name, the project head, the start and finish date of the project description, and the strategy that's being used. So after that, you want to map out your project by enlisting all the different steps for your project to work, and then assigning those different tasks to different members in the youth council.
So we have talked a little bit about our action plan and our project structure, and now we're going to segue into the projects that we are involved in right now. Firstly, starting off with the statistics game. Every 2 years, the Enfield Together Coalition conducts a survey to middle schoolers and high schoolers on harmful substances. And through that data, or using that data, we play a little game at the Enfield High School in which students have to answer a question. And that question would be, an example of a question would be, how many students in Enfield 6th to 12th graders did not use marijuana in the past 30 days? And the real purpose of this is to show that not everyone uses harmful substances.
Another ongoing project that we have is the bulletin board project. So for this project, posters that are centered around prevention are posted on the hallway by the Career Center in Enfield High. So the message and content of the poster will be updated and changed every single month to correlate with our Instagram and the Enfield Together Coalition. And the strategy used here is providing information. So the goal of this project is to hopefully promote positive peer-to-peer messaging and encourage others to make more positive decisions.
So the Sticker Shock project focuses primarily around providing information. Youth council members go around to package stores and post prevention stickers and on shelves and bags. And essentially the goal of this is educating adults on not providing alcohol to youth.
Oh. Very good.
In this project, we have paired up with School Resource Officer Becky Ledger from JFK Middle School. And she basically has a week to teach students, 8th grade students and 7th grade students, about harmful substances and their dangers. Our job is to spend one of those days of the week to tell our stories about how we avoided harmful substances and to inform those middle schoolers on different tactics that they could use. So this is pretty ideal for 7th and 8th graders because this might apply to some of those kids that might have trouble with the transition into high school.
The food shelf project is going to occur at the Enfield Food Shelf, and essentially the strategy for this is providing information. And as head of the project, I'm responsible for coordinating a date every 2 months to go to the Enfield Food Shelf and post prevention messages around there. And essentially the goal of this is to provide messaging to parents. And yeah, sorry.
Just before I get started on my project, I would like to just note that this is an upcoming project, so we have not completely started this yet, or we have not like finalized this yet, but we have gotten this approved by the school, so it will come soon. The strategy of the school announcements project is providing information, and this will be held at Enfield High School. And what I will do is I will be working with our Instagram that we have, and I will be taking posts off of the Instagram, and I will be making sure that they're approved by Miss Clark, my principal, and then I will be going on the school morning announcements and reading the post off to all of the school. And at the end, I will say something along the lines of, this was brought to you by the Enfield Youth Council. And the goal of this whole school announcements project is to provide peer-to-peer messaging.
So besides the school announcements, another way for us to connect with our community is through the radio shows and PSAs. So our radio show is in partnership with the Asnuntuck Community College, and this provides us the opportunity to interview key community members. And in the past, we've interviewed Congressman Courtney, and our upcoming interview is with the mayor. So if anyone is interested in being on our radio show, you can always contact us and we'll schedule a time together.
PSAs are public service announcements that the Youth Council members create and record. We write PSAs on substance use prevention to stay true to our grant. Some examples are on alcohol, marijuana, and prescription drugs. We also write about town events and community issues like the Kindness Carnival, the 4th of July Town Celebration, and seatbelt safety. Now we're going to show you 2 PSAs that we have written and recorded on our radio show. The first is about prevention, and the second is one we wrote for the Network Against Domestic Violence.
Influence. It could be the one person with the hurtful words, the one person with a strong punch, the kid who threw the crazy party, the one adventurous best friend. It only takes one person to get your kid to try marijuana. Make sure you, as a parent, are the one person to keep your child safe. Have the pot talk. It's never too early. Brought to you by the Ashland Youth Services Radio Show on 107.7 WACC.
Could you guys hear that? Yes.
Yes,
Actually could.
good job.
All right, we have another one? We have a second one.
Needs to go. She does not get to hit you. Love shouldn't hurt. Anyone can be a victim of dating violence. If you or someone you know is experiencing dating violence, get help. Talk to someone you trust or call our 24/7 confidential hotline at 860-763-4542. No one deserves to be hurt by someone who should be loving them. Brought to you by the Enfield Youth Services Show and 107.7 WACC.
Okay, let's get the next slide.
All right, so us as a youth council have had a wonderful opportunity to conduct multiple presentations, and up on the board you can see is only some of the places that we have presented at. One place over the summer that we presented a workshop at was the Youth to Youth Conference held at Bryant University in Rhode Island. Here, we taught kids how to make a substance abuse PSA, or public service announcement. So what we did was we showed them a PowerPoint that we created, then we broke off into facilitated groups, and us as a youth council individually helped them to go through, and we guided them on making their own PSAs. And then after each group finished their own PSA, they went up in front of everybody, or all of the rest of their peers, and they presented their own PSA.
The PAWS Conference is held annually at Manchester Community College. Last year, we ran this conference along with Manchester and Montville Youth Commissions. There were many presentation and leadership opportunities here. We were the keynote speakers teaching our peers about problem gambling, and we also ran workshops on how to construct a PSA.
Another event in which we are fortunate enough to present in is during the National League of Cities. The National League of Cities is a 4-day conference that took place in Charlotte, North Carolina this past January. One of our alumni members, Jamie, was able to speak out on the panel in one of the workshops, engaging in our city's youth, and he spoke on the foundation and motto of our youth council.
So we recently had the opportunity to speak at the Hartford Capitol on behalf of the many youth service bureaus in the state of Connecticut on possible budget cuts that we would be taking. And so this was a big step up for the Youth Council because a lot of the testimonies delivered are usually from adults, and this specifically empowered our youth voice.
The Connecticut Youth Services Association is our most recently attended conference. It is a statewide annual conference. We held a panel discussion where we and members of the Manchester Youth Commission were asked questions from other youth group leaders about how they could further develop their youth groups and how the Enfield Youth Council functions.
So as a youth council, we attend conferences annually, and these conferences give us an opportunity to bring helpful things back to our council and to eventually improve it, and then to eventually help our community. One of the conferences that we've attended is CADCA, which stands for Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America. Essentially, one of the important things that we brought back from this conference was our action plan that we showed you earlier, and this action plan has been really crucial to the Youth Council because it has helped our project structure and helped us become more organized.
As mentioned before, a conference that we've been to is the National League of Cities. During the most recent visit that we went to, we brought back a lot of key things such as council amendments, and we made an Instagram page for our youth council. And we've also anchored more of our intention to recruiting in the middle school. And we've also established more projects centered around leadership. So aside from projects, radio shows, and conferences, committee meetings are something that our members are regularly involved in. In the Mayor's Advisory Board, we have 2 of our youth representatives to attend to tune in on what's happening in our community and share their insights with the rest of the council. And similarly, 3 of our members regularly participate in Enfield Together Coalition meetings. During these meetings, different issues, and which usually concern substances, are brought up to be discussed upon. And we, the youth, are present to offer up a youth perspective to help better apprehend the topic.
Youth Council members have shown to be very dedicated to the Youth Council. We often meet outside of our Monday meetings to continue our work. Committees meet during Eagle Hour at school to further discuss project development. The chairman and secretary meet and plan, organize meetings and work on the groundwork of the Youth Council, and we also meet to develop presentations like this one outside of Youth Council hours.
So by joining the Youth Council, it not only gives us the opportunity to go out and engage and help change our community, but most importantly, it also help develop us personally as an individual. So for the next few minutes, we just like to pass around the mic and for everybody in the Youth Council, just share about a little bit about what we've gained personally through our time here. So for me, I've gained a lot of my confidence and public speaking skills. I have to say, before I joined the Youth Council, I wasn't much of a speaker. I wasn't as confident as I am now. And then I really have to thank to the support I had from my peers and from Andrea.
All right, so I've only been in the Youth Council for around 5 months, but I can already see a drastic change in myself. Just like Jason said, I do find that I have more confidence, and what I want to be when I'm older has to do with public speaking, so I do find that I am getting better at that, which I'm happy about. But I also feel like I've matured, and this is a big thing because this Youth Council takes a lot of maturity, and I feel like I've grown in that.
I personally have gained a lot of organization skills, and also public speaking is a big thing for me because I remember our former Youth Council members also delivered a similar presentation to this, and I would never be able to present this. And I would say through all of this, the Youth Council has definitely improved my public speaking skills.
So throughout my time in Youth Council, I definitely became more confident and strengthened my public speaking skills. But most importantly for me is that I became more involved in my community.
As being part of the youth council, it's really helped me a lot in developing my leadership skill qualities and my confidence. I would have never thought I'd actually be able to actually present this before I've joined the youth council, because it helped me develop my leadership qualities, as I said before, and putting a great emphasis on public speaking.
For me, I've greatly developed confidence in public speaking skills, but on behalf of everyone in the youth council, there are so many leadership opportunities from chairman, secretary, project head, committee head, so everyone really gets a chance to step up and be a leader.
So a way for us to raise substance misuse awareness is through the power of social media. So that's why we've created our own Instagram account, so that we can post prevention messages, our activities and projects, so that the message can reach out to a larger audience. So if you want to support us and our community, please follow Enfield Youth Services on Instagram. Thank you. So now that we are done with our presentation, we would like to take a couple of minutes answering some of the questions that you guys have.
Nice plug. Good, very good. Questions for these? Round of applause. All right, so now this is the hard part. Councilor Falk.
Now, you guys did a fantastic job. I saw many of you at the CATCA meeting and also in Charlotte. I think it's a great program. You're doing wonderful things. Let me ask kind of a loaded question. You do all these wonderful things. How do you measure success? How do you know if you've achieved what you're trying to pass on through your message?
Who's taking it? Go right ahead.
So, to measure our success, essentially what we've planned, if it goes according to plan, I think it's pretty successful. If we meet our requirements, such as our projects, for example, we plan our projects according to our project structure and our action plan, and we have certain steps set in stone. And if we meet those steps within a certain deadline, then I think that's pretty successful. But in terms of the effectiveness of it, can someone help me?
I think it's successful if people understand and connect to the message that we're trying to give in any of our projects or in any of our presentations.
Good answer. Councilor Falk. Very good. Councilor Bosco.
Mine's more not a question, but a statement. You guys are doing a great job. It was nice to see you guys up there. And maybe one day, you guys will be sitting in these seats. So keep up the good work, and it's everything you do to help people is that much better. Thank you.
Councilor Sakala.
Thanks. I don't really have any questions, but I just want you guys to know you should all be very, very proud of yourselves. Not many of even us and would be able to have done what you did, and even going through all the technical difficulties that you did. You guys knocked it out of the park. You did a wonderful job, and you should. I hope people understand that you guys are the role models and peer models for a lot of people out there, a lot of kids, and be very, very proud. And your parents should be proud of you, too.
Thank you. Councilor Crissati.
I just have a couple of statements to make. Each and every one of you, every member of this Enfield Youth Council should be very, very proud of your accomplishments, your hard work, everything that you have done at this point in time. When you look at success, I look at all of you, and that's success right there. You worked very, very hard. All of your projects are fantastic. Your food shelf, your school announcements, your radio shows, and it goes on and on and on. As Gina Scala stated, you are role models for everybody. And so keep up that hard work, and congratulations to each and every one of you. I'll see you in December on that radio show. Okay.
Thank you. Councilor Muller.
Great job, guys. Quick question. How do you be on the Enfield Youth Council?
So personally for me, I was recruited in JFK in my 8th grade year. So I think this is how the system works. So the head of the wing, like Mr. Yagabuchi, you get selected for your leadership qualities. So if the teachers see like any leadership qualities in you, you get like recommended, and then you get picked and selected for the recruitment meeting.
This is primarily directed to 8th graders. Just saying.
Anyone else have any questions? So I have a question for you. What can the town council do better if you were in his position right now?
Personally, I'm not very like well known about like what the town council do, and I haven't really seen like you guys do your work. So I personally believe I don't have the position to judge or make any amendments. So I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Anyone else? Here's your chance. Here's your chance. I just want to say in closing, a few of you mentioned the word confidence, right? Again, so the confidence you've got out of this, you were here before, a little unnerving. We don't have the computer working. We're on a tight schedule. We're being a little antsy. You folks handled it well. What does confidence give you? The mental toughness that when something doesn't go your way, the last thing you want to do is take your ball and go home. All right? So you're here. You spoke before us. You spoke articulate. You're leaders of the community. And again, it's exactly what we preach all the time about what's going on in Enfield. This is what's going on in Enfield. This is what's going on when we hear negative stuff about, oh, you know, kids are this, kids are that. Well, again, this is what the kids are in our town. And you are a very fine representative of that. I'm proud of you. You came and did, when I was at your meeting, I challenged you. You came through. This was a great presentation. Again, your organization, someone mentioned, I can tell you, as a future employer, the ability to communicate and be organized, you will be a good hire for some organization. Okay, I'm telling you as someone who employs people, so I think keep up the good work. Thank you very much for coming tonight. You're welcome anytime. And again, I'll give you one last chance to tell us what we can do better.
You guys have anything to say?
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. I know folks probably want to adjourn it, but we're going to move right into the regular meeting. Item number 1, prayer. Councilor Arnone.
We meet to serve our community, to use resources wisely. We represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and to the future, and the rights and needs of both the individuals and the community. As trusted servants, we seek blessing on our deliberations.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
Here.
Counselor Bosco.
Here.
Counselor Sakala.
Here.
Counselor Crissati.
Here.
Counselor Davis.
Here.
Counselor Denny.
Here.
Counselor Fogg.
Here.
Mayor Ludwig.
Here.
Counselor Muller.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Here.
Counselor Ungary. There's 10 members present, 1 is absent.
Item number 4, the fire evacuation announcement. In case of a fire, we please exit orderly to the back of the building. We have doors in the back, and also we have doors to our left, your right. Please orderly go out those doors to the first door to your left, go down the stairs, and straight out the doors into the parking lot in case of a fire. Item number 5, minutes of the preceding meetings. Special meeting September 17, 2018.
Is that the correct date? The last meeting was October 1st.
These were corrected already.
Yeah.
Wow, I did. Good catch. So, sorry, item 5 minutes already approved.
Right away.
Way ahead of it. Item number 6, we're moving right into special guests. First special guest, we have the Opera House Players and the Enfield Cultural and Arts. So, folks, please, you have the floor. Jason, if you want to lead.
We have an easel in the back, right against the back wall and by the fan.
Again, thank you for your patience. We apologize that you've run a little longer than expected, so we apologize. Do we have?
get up on this corner right here, maybe, for this camera?
If you, the mic, please, sorry. Yeah.
We got a handheld?
Is there a handheld?
Is the
mic?
handheld right there?
Over there.
And name and title, just so folks know. Thanks. Thank you.
Put it right up to your mouth.
Oh man, I am not good with these things. Good evening. My name is Emily McIntosh. I'm the chairman of the Enfield Culture and Arts Commission. Do you want me to go around?
Sure, introduce, yep, right ahead.
Oh, okay.
Jennifer Ryan, Culture and Arts Commission.
Donna Hamry, Culture and Arts Commission.
Susan Choquette, the Opera House Players.
Harry Avagelo, the Opera House Players.
Joshua Hamry, both Opera House Players and the Enfield Culture and Arts Commission.
Bill Stepansky, the Opera House Players.
Damon Patino.
Where are you from?
Jason Neely, Staff Liaison for Culture and Arts.
Just going to take a few moments of your time. A part of the Enfield Culture and Arts Commission is to provide support and assistance to events which encourage continued growth of arts, history, and culture within our community. Our newest initiative is the Enfield Culture and Arts Grant Program. We're excited to announce the first recipients of this program to the Opera House Players in the amount of $25,000. Together with ECAC's support, we can now begin building the foundation needed to grow the theatrical arts within Enfield and welcome the Opera House Players to our community.
Anyone else like to speak while you have the floor? Yeah? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
On behalf of the Opera House Players, I just want to extend a huge thank you to the Enfield Culture and Arts Commission. We are so grateful for this grant to help us get our new home off the ground here in Enfield. Also want to just thank the town of Enfield and Thompsonville for the warm welcome you have all given us, and we are so excited about our future here and working together and what we can accomplish together here in the arts. So thank you so much.
Shameless plug, if you don't mind. Beauty and the Beast tickets are now on sale. All 4 weekends in November. We're going to be at the Enfield Annex, former Fermi High School, and there's nothing that happens without the volunteers that we have to make this thing run, both on both sides of the equation here. So if anybody wants to get involved on either side, please reach out to us, and you can learn a whole lot more by getting involved in whatever capacity you can. We'd be happy to have anybody that wants to join us, and reach out to us. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Councilor Arnott?
Could you give us an update on how we're doing with 100 High Street? What's the renovations? How's it going? Yeah, short version, please.
We've spent the last 6 months, I think April is when we have finalized our agreement, and we spent the last 6 months working together with a team of architects, engineers, the lighting and sound designers, and putting together a wonderful design for the theater. And with that wonderful design, the more we investigate and look into the guts of the building, the more information we find, the bigger the project gets. The building itself does need a lot of structural and guts, work on the heating and ventilation and electrical and sprinklers. And so this project has grown exponentially. We were initially hoping, I guess we had some rose-colored glasses, and we were hoping we would be in for our Beauty and the Beast opening in November, and that clearly is not the case. We have a large hill to climb with fundraising, and we've gotten a great start. This grant through the Culture and Arts Commission has allowed us to pay in full all of the contractors that we've engaged so far And at a future meeting, we could bring the schematics and show you what the theater will look like. But it's broken down into phases. Phase 1 would be all of the public spaces, all of the mechanics of the building, all of the compliance, accessibility, and then the public spaces of the theater. And phase 2 would be sort of the actor spaces behind the scenes. And kind of that's where we stand. We are on the design side, ready to go just about as far as we can go. On the fundraising side, we have a farther way to go before we can start.
Send donations to? Can they go right to 100 High Street?
Right to 100 High Street. Any amount is welcome and much appreciated.
Thank you and welcome home.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next special guest, Mr. Donald Nunes.
No, just you, Mr. Nunes. He's afterwards. Mr. Mayor,
Welcome, sir. I mean, I'll turn the floor over.
Yes, we'd like to introduce, as we've been doing at our council meetings, new appointees to the town. There's no more important position in the town than the Director of Public Works, who works across the board. I get more inquiries, and so does the council, and concerns from residents than in the Public Works Department. So it's a hands-on job. There's a lot of departments, you know, highway, building and grounds, trash, building. It just covers the gambit, the roads projects. And we need a person who's uniquely qualified, that has the patience, the professionalism, but also the leadership to be able to do that job. So I'm proud that we were able to have Donald act as the acting Public Works Director basically throughout the summer during some projects that were, to say the least, stressful. He's shown himself to be a very good employee, and most importantly, and what our organization is trying to stress, is customer service and respect to our residents. He has shown in that regard, being the face really of the roads projects as our road engineer since he was hired in 2013. I've included, we did a press release, as I said, that went out today. We announced to staff last Friday, and will be on our website tomorrow, to give his past 25 years in public works. He's covered the gambit. But most importantly, as I said, he really proved himself over the last few months with the projects. He brings enthusiasm to the job, and I think he's going to do a great job for us. I'm going to, without further ado, turn it over to him. But I think, you know, as Public Works Director and with the public, you've got to be, someone says in a lot of these positions, you've got to be part pastor, part psychologist, and part dictator. And I think Donald fulfills all of those qualities.
Who says that?
And so I think he fulfills all of those duties. But as I say, we've accentuated leadership in all of our departments. And again, the key and what we want people to do is show respect to our residents. Try to get to yes. If it's no, be respectful and help to explain why, and still try to get an avenue to get to yes. And as I say, behind the counter upstairs for 5 years with the roads projects, I think he has proven himself, and his resume is stellar. So without further ado, I give you Mr. Donald Nunes,
Welcome,
your new
Thank
Director
you.
of Public Works.
First, I just want to say thank you to the town manager and the mayor and to town council for letting me have this opportunity. It was very well received at home, and just it was kind of stressful the last couple months, but it was wonderful. Just want to kind of start off to kind of know where I came from. I do have a master's degree from the University of Massachusetts, and prior to my 6 years of working here as a roads engineer, I worked for a heavy highway contractor out in Cambridge, Mass., where we did everything from bridges to subdivisions to roadways to water mains and the like. Before that, I worked for a very small company out of southeastern Massachusetts that specialized in athletic fields and complexes ranging from our athletic fields, synthetic to natural turf to bleacher systems to the like, and the occasional cemetery, which I've built 2 of those so far, which is kind of unique. Prior to that, I worked for the City of Worcester in the Department of Public Works and Parks as an engineer in the Capital Projects Division, responsible for all capital projects in all City of Worcester parks, which are, I believe,
We had 39 parks, so anything that came through there, I was responsible for that. But the bulk of the work, my work experience has come from the city of Chicopee, where I've oddly been a golf course superintendent for 7 years over there. I worked in engineering, community development, highway, and sanitation. It's really important to understand that part of being a public works director, I've really done pretty much every single job that was out there, and I can really empathize with our staff. Sanitation guys being out there on a miserable 35-degree rainy day in the back of a truck, I'll tell you, it is not pleasant, and our guys do it every day that they have to, and I sincerely empathize with that. Plowing for 24, 36 hours, done it, and it's really important that I understand where I came from to understand what my guys and staff have to go through. In my spare time, I am an avid home chef. I am a huge hockey player. I still continue to play in a men's league, and a diehard Bruins fan. That's why I brought this for today.
Bill knew his contract.
I do want to thank department heads and town staff that have reached out to me in support and encouragement during the transition and during the recent announcement. But I really want to, more importantly, I just want to thank my staff, from our management level staff, from Greg Ebonell, Mark Garr, Kevin Schlatt, Rick Davenport, Daniel Edwards, Michael Slazik, and John Kabibbo for all their help, all of our crew leaders, and all of our frontline staff who have done so much. They've been incredibly supportive, caring, and they just really continue to be a great source of inspiration, and they've really been helping me out throughout this time. And again, I really sincerely thank my staff, because without them, we wouldn't be continuing to strive forward and provide the level of service to our residents. And again, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to continue my service to the town of Enfield, and I sincerely appreciate it.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any questions for the new Director of Public Works, Councilor Arnone?
So the first time I got to meet Donald was in a failed project on Brainerd Park, the basketball courts and volleyball courts. And he came in, and I'd never met you before, and took that project and brought it into a success under budget, I believe. And still today, you drive by there, I'm so proud to see the kids out on that court that wouldn't have had that opportunity if you hadn't saved that project. And I said that day, I said, who is that guy with the soul patch? And I'm really happy to see you sitting here today, because there's been several more over the last few years, including the skate park, where he was doing a lot of community outreach with the skate park committee. So really looking forward to a long, long tenure.
Thank you.
Councilor Falk.
Donald and I crossed paths this morning. We were both at a CROG meeting in Hartford. And I think we're in good hands with him there. And I think being on the front line, we'll have more opportunity to try and get grant money through CROG with his presence there. And I look forward to working with you. Thank you. Good job. Oh,
Thank you.
one more. Did
Yes.
you actually drive a truck?
Do I? Yeah, my
Have
CDL.
you?
Yes, I have my CDL, Class B,
Okay.
air brakes, tank, and hazardous.
So then you can appreciate what they go through.
Yes, and I also have a bus endorsement as well.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Denny.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Councilor.
I'm ecstatic. You know that I'm everywhere, usually in Enfield. Not one employee that works for you has said anything but a positive, and that's the lowest level to the highest level. So congratulations again.
Thank you. Wonderful to hear.
Councilor Crissati.
Congratulations, Don.
Thank you.
We've heard a lot of really positive things about you, especially over these last few months where you really, we really dived into this position. And so keep up the good work. And I just want to thank you for all of your updates that you give. You're very thorough in all of your reporting. At this point in time, so just keep it up, because you're very informative and keeping everybody in the council up to date with things that are going on.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Bosco.
Congratulations. You do a wonderful job. You do a great job. And you're there every time I need you. And I'm a big pain in the butt. And
you said it.
You always do well, and it's an honor to have you here working with us.
Thank you.
I'll just say I'm a Penguins fan, for the record. and I think you were, just real quick, you earned it. And the one thing, the phrase under budget's a great phrase for any department head to tell a town council, so I appreciate it. And the other thing, though, what you've done, and I think that's the key here, is that you've used the phrase, I've gone out there myself. Again, the only way you're going to be able to help residents is to actually go to their home, talk to them, and I know it's probably not something we can solve sometimes, but I know you've done that. I want hopefully to continue to encourage you to do that, because again, that's the customer service that the town manager is talking about. That's so important. That, you know, again, I think that's been missing, honestly, in the past, and I'll leave it at that. But I think, you know, again, going right to the door and having an adult conversation is just a huge bonus when it comes to working in any municipal government. So again, I hope you continue to do that, and congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, since he's here and saved me from the report, I think an important project he inherited and shepherded through and continues to do so with is the South River Street Bridge. So I would ask him to give a quick update on that for the council and the public.
This morning, the Connecticut Department of Transportation inspectors were out inspecting the steelwork, just the steelwork right now. They've tentatively approved the southern part of it, so on the boat launch side, the work was being done. We were touching up some things on the northerly side, and as far as I know, the Condon is coming out again tomorrow to go approve the steel work and all the welding work on the northerly side before we tear down all of the scaffolding underneath that the workers have been using, because once that goes, you can't really get back up there. Also, the scour treatment, which is all the undermining underneath the northerly abutment, so that everything that washed away underneath the northerly abutment, all the sandbags are up there now, and they're getting ready to pour the concrete, but they can't do so while they're welding because they don't want to injure their workers having the hot welding if there's anything splashed down on them. So they're ready to go once the welding is completed. So we will be, the completion date is on schedule. So we'll be before the end of October.
And I'd like to just reiterate from the conversation earlier, this also is a prime example of reaching out to the community and doing our utmost to communicate. Not only I asked for them to do a public meeting with residents during the height of this when there was frustration and anxiety. They met with all the residents, answered their questions, and did a full presentation. They had previously gone out and gone door to door to disseminate information to the residents. And then when the project was getting close and we had awarded the bid, not only did we do a press release and put it on our website, we also had his people go out and hand a handout to every resident in the neighborhood so that they would be aware that the project was being awarded and what the tentative schedule was. So I think this is just another example of the new way of doing business in Enfield and trying to reach out to our residents and making them aware in every way we can think possible of what's going on and those matters that directly affect them. And again, I say to anybody in the audience, anybody has any other ideas how we can do it better, please share them, send them to the town manager's office or to the council. We'd be very happy to consider them. Thank you.
Councilor Falk.
These changes or modifications to the bridge that you're doing now, how does that tie in with the long-range project of replacing the bridge and or making the bridge more permanent? I don't know what the plan is in 2020 or 21, but how does that all tie together?
I would defer that for another evening. That's an industrious project. It's in place. We have the funding, and work has already begun. I've had meetings with Donald on it. It'll involve the state. It'll involve takings, not only the bridge, but the road. And we've already been reaching out early, now, 3 years before, to tell those residents that will be affected that they are going to be affected, so it doesn't get sprung upon them 6 months before. So that we'll say for another day, Mr. Falk, and leave you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah. Keep it high on the list.
All right, it is. The funding's there, and it's on track with the state. And Mr. Nunes, we meet and talk about it every week.
Yes, Council.
Councilor Crissati.
Yeah, just one further comment. I've been in close contact with all the residents down on South River and North River, and your communication with them has been outstanding. So I just want to reinforce that as to what Mr. Bromson just stated also. And just have one quick question for you. Could you just give us a brief little update on Bridge Lane?
We're paving binder this week.
And how that's going.
We're going to be paving binder this week. So the first layer of pavement is going to be going down. So we're nearing the end of that.
All right, good.
And in regard to another concern there, we won't digress too much, but there's a bridge that protects culverts that hadn't been there before. It's less than beautiful. We talked to this existing contractor about a price to try to make it look a little more presentable. It was an astronomical quote that we wouldn't consider. Director Nunes is looking to reach out to others to see to get a price to make that more in keeping with that community, and we'll have those quotes, and maybe we'll be able to do it with funding, hopefully, that we have left over from the South River Street Bridge. I don't want to curse it and do that when the project's done, so I don't want the residents to think that we aren't continuing to look at that as well.
Great. Thank you very much, and thanks for that update. Perfect.
Welcome.
Let me just say one more thing about South River Street Bridge. It was a division-wide, department-wide help. It involved nearly every single division. Daniel Edwards is in the back right now, his staff of the RRM folks, and highway going down, either taking out barricades, picking up the trash, going through all that things. Buildings and grounds, again, responsible for a lot of that, again, with the barricades, picking them up out of the river, which were dumped in a few times, and cleaning graffiti with everybody. So Mark Garr and Daniel Edwards, all of our staff has just been, everybody's involved. John Kabibel's been heavily involved with outreach for the community as well. Again, simple things like getting deliveries and oil deliveries and mail and movers and all that other kind of stuff. So it's a really a department-wide effort from me on down. And again, I just want to thank my staff for that. So
Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Donald.
Yep. Moving on to item number 7, public communications. Anyone like to speak for the council at this time? Karen, you had your hand up first. We'll have 5 minutes for the first go-around, and if you have a second, it'll be 3 minutes. Again, appreciate it, folks. Don't keep personalities out of it. Karen, welcome. You have 5 minutes this time.
Thank you. Karen LaPlante, 166 North Maple Street. The first thing I want to get in is there's a proposed amendment to the Constitution of the State of Connecticut on our voting ballot this time, and it's question number 2, and it's asking if the Constitution of the state should be amended to require, 1, a public hearing and the enactment of legislation limited to the subject matter to the transfer and sale or disposition of state-owned or state-controlled real property. And there's quite a thing. The Secretary of State has a one-sheet description on their site, and also there's a site set up for protectctpubliclands.org that recommends people vote yes. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of it, because a lot of times we don't hear about what the questions are until we get there, and we don't know what to do about it. We don't know what it's all about. Just to go back a little bit to the sewer stuff, debt service cannot be included in a regular rate bill unless it's separated. So I believe there's something like over $3 million that's being paid back to the town of Enfield. Various times it's been called debt service, and it's got to be separated on the bill. The actual volume method for the sewer billing is the most equitable form of billing for the sewer. Increases and decreases will occur whenever there are changes in weather patterns, rate increases, either water or sewer, and changes in customer base. Revenue can be somewhat difficult to predict, but I urge you to stay with a sewer user fee based on volume, as it is the fairest when properly administered. I still believe not all sewer customers are being billed. We still have like a 35% infiltration in our system. Is that infiltration, or is it from some of those our customers that aren't being billed? Everybody should be billed. Section 7-255 of the Connecticut General Statutes talks about the Water Pollution Control Authority requiring a public hearing when they're raising rates or changing rates. And unfortunately, I think tonight you raised the sewer rates for all the well users, because not in any one of the publications that you did before the last public hearing was there anything suggesting the well owners would get the $21 quarterly charge. And I think tonight you raised those rates illegally without a public hearing, and I think it was wrong. I have to run pick up somebody at the airport, but I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Karen.
You can add that to your list.
Anyone else like to speak for the council? Ma'am. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Marlene Hodzinski, 3 Roland Street, Enfield, Connecticut. I am here today to speak to you about the recent survey and hours regarding our senior center. It's been almost 4 months, and clearly, by the numbers attending and the results of the survey, It's not working. And the majority don't want or even plan on using the Saturdays. You have said you wanted to attract younger seniors. Well, those younger seniors were filling the evening classes. Those younger seniors included a heart doctor, a lawyer, many practicing nurses, teachers, town employees, and a host of others. They're all working seniors. They want evening classes. They don't want Saturdays because they want to spend time with their family on Saturdays. It makes no sense to any of us as to why you would be open on a Saturday with no extra money coming in, when the evening classes were generating the much-needed revenue. Listen to the results of the survey. Listen to those of us who use the center. And listen to the rumors that are going around, again, about January 1st, the senior center is closing. That's the big one. We need to move forward, get rid of the Saturdays, reinstate evening hours, and work to make our center a happy, inviting, and energized place it was once before. Sheila Grady, our new manager, and her team are eager to get the senior center back to what it was. We need to move forward. Let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. Sir. You only get 2 minutes.
I'll take just one.
No. Well, how you doing?
The stuff out. Good. How are you?
Good. George, just name and address for the record. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is George Young, 8 Holly Lane in Enfield. Tonight I'd like to comment and ask some questions regarding the general fund and the water pollution control. Sorry I missed the 6 o'clock meeting, and maybe some of this was redundant, but I had worked on it earlier, so I'll just go through it. And I suspect my time will run out before the next area. According to the information from the Enfield Wastewater, that was back in 2017, Volume 3, this is a fast-track design to be eligible for state funding, requiring 90% of the design to be completed by spring of 2017. $36 million budget was applied for significantly upgrading the WPCF for the sewer collection system and the 16 pump stations in the system. It was approved in November of 2015. At that time, the council solution to this problem is to have a separate tax for the sewer system based on usage. When they removed the sewer tax from our annual property tax bill and set up a separate area. The 2017 audit, which is on page 3.5, reports that there continues to be a deficit in the WPC fund. There's a $2,492,000 reserved in the general fund's non-spendable portion to cover part of the deficit. The 2017 audit report on page 3.6 indicated that the WPCA fund and bonded projects fund are currently running deficits and thereby causing the unassigned fund balance to be a deficit. The deficit in the bonded projects fund will be eliminated with future bonding, and the deficit in the water pollution control fund will be eliminated over the next 10 years through revenue raised by user fees. Does this new 10-year cycle restart every few years? Remember that elimination of the deficit was probably what was told to the auditors by the finance department or the council, because that report for the year ended June 30th, 2017 was issued on December 28th, 2017. Next, I'd like to look at the water pollution control fund summary revenue on page 83 of the budget. On page 84, there's a breakout of the sources of revenue, but one area that troubles me is that there's no breakout or separate line item of the anticipated revenue for the charges for services category. Is this for user fees and the new ready-to-serve quarterly fee? If so, this should be broken out, and if there is a third category, it should be separately stated. In addition to the amount to be generated by each category should be shown. This is not a transparent budget when everybody is going to be upset by a new quarterly charge based on the size of the pipe at their location. The user fee and ready-to-serve charge were calculated to cover a budget of $6,750,000 per Woodward and Curran, the company specializing in wastewater budgets. They indicated that the current sewer rates generated $4.8 million per year. They have been doing this for Enfield since 2013, and now we hear about unanticipated costs. What are these unanticipated costs, and what took so long to discover? And why didn't the council take notice on prior audit annual financial statements? Let's ask some questions now. If the new user fees are projected to raise $6,750,000 and the council approved the budget for $6,434,000, subsequent to the new rates, where will the additional $350,000 go? Repayment of prior year advances or what? Let's step back to 2014, when it was decided that the user fee would be based on information from the quarterly bills from the Connecticut Water Company for gallons used, and the rate was 3.39 per 1,000 gallons for users under 20,000 gallons per quarter. The use of the size of the pipe at your location was thrown out. The one-person household would use far less water than the 4- or 6-person household. Seniors and single people would be adversely affected. The October 2018 AARP newspaper indicate that bankruptcy filings by older Americans are on the rise. I feel like these kind of decisions to change the fees based on pipe size will contribute to the rise.
30 seconds, George.
Okay. What will happen to common sense now? It is important to know our population mix and its growth over the next 10 years. One paragraph more. If the budget revenue is under the amount of expenditures by 40.6%, then raise the rate per gallon to 4.766 or 67 per gallon. Instead, you raise this rate by 2 cents to $3.43 and added a new ready-to-serve rate of $21 per quarter to the same people based on the size of the pipe in front of their location. I noticed my first new billing was a blended rate of the old rate and the new rate for the number of days in the period covered by Connecticut Water Company for a blended rate of 3.41. However, the full $21 was charged to customers of that size pipe without proration. Why was that not prorated? I'll stop
You
for
can
now.
come back, George.
I
All right.
will.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. That's right where I drew my line.
Very good presentation.
5 minutes were up.
Very good presentation. Anyone else like to speak before the council for the first time? For the first time?
I think Bob raised his hand.
Bob's ready. I'm sorry. Yep, Bob.
Wait for you, Jack. Bob T. Katz, Woodgate Circle. I'm very disappointed on this public hearing that we had tonight. You shut off people, you kept it 3 minutes. People had a lot to say about what you're doing, and I think the way this whole thing has been handled, it's been handled very unprofessional to the public. And I think you guys should rescind your vote and do your homework and get it right, because it's a sham. I got something to say about ETV. It's the best thing that's happened. However, they got a lot of issues. The sound is either too you can't get enough, you hear them, or it's too loud. So when you change from the regular channel to their channel, you have to either turn it up or down. You hear a buzz couple days, 2 or 3 days. There was a buzz, and we had a couple weeks there with no reception. It was blank. Come to find out, they had to buy a part, and they don't make the parts for that system that you have anymore, so they had to get it on the internet. It seems like they went to Danny's TV store in East Windsor and went into the back room and found a 1930 part for their ETV. So I think it's about time you should look at upgrading that system. But the problem is you got less taxpayers in Enfield, so you're going to have to raise everybody's rates. And I don't see anything that we've done to reduce cost in Enfield. We seem to be spending more money and hitting the taxpayers one after another. And here's an example. There's a report that just came out by Malloy's office. Town by town, school enrollment changes in recent years. In recent years, school enrollment has been significantly declined in student enrollment in many Connecticut municipalities. Governor Daniel Malloy has made the argument, while there may have seen enrollment declines, the state continues to provide significant aid to these municipalities and increase the funding in many cases. And this is what's happened between 2012 and 2016. Of 166 school districts, there's 169 towns, you got consolidated districts. You had 146 districts decline in enrollment. You only had 18 districts increase. And most of the 18 districts are the cities. More immigrants are moving in and then transferring them up to our towns. And our towns still declined 8.5%. We had 6,000 students, 8.5% of 6,000. We're down to 5,200, and I'm still trying to get to this year's enrollment numbers. They haven't finished it yet. And you had significant changes like 30 and 20% in some of these school districts. And yet, we go ahead with building projects, continue spending money in the school system, especially when our school administrators is 23rd in the states, the highest for our size. School districts that have 6,000 students are spending less in administration than we do. So that's where the problem is. We have too many administrators in the school system, too many chiefs, and not enough Indians. I went to a Hall of Fame dinner last Sunday. In fact, I went to two on each side of Bob's Hall of Fame dinner. I went to the State Hall of Fame dinner, and I went to the local Hartford Association area Hall of Fame dinner. And it happened to be sitting with a couple that just says they just bought a house in East Windsor. And I says, why didn't you consider Enfield? She says, are you kidding me? We looked at the elementary schools, and she used the word deplorable. So I think this is where we should be spending our money. This is where young families look. They look at the elementary schools. I says, well, we got a great high school. They're going to have an $85 million referendum. She says, we could care less about what's going on up there. We care about where our kids are going in next year. That's where our priorities are. And it's a shame that your people, your legislatures don't start renovating the elementary schools. And like I say, you're going to have only 900 students in the middle school, and you should be considering closing a wing on the middle school and not renovating it and start fixing the deplorable schools in Enfield. They are in bad shape, and people are commenting about the school system, how deplorable they are, and I think that's a shame that we're going through that. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else like to speak for the council for the first time. Jack. Welcome, Jack.
Jack Sheridan. Excuse me, Jack Sheridan, 7 Buchanan Road. First, I was wondering if there was an age limit on the youth council, if maybe it would improve my speaking skills. But,
you're still a young man, Jack.
We'll see. Yeah, there's a few things. I think Karen and the people who spoke against rescinding the vote that you took tonight is appropriate because the people didn't have enough of an opportunity. It wasn't, advertised in advance. And we're talking about $3 million in debt service that Karen LaPlante talked about. And the funding of that and where that money's coming from, and I keep talking about this Curran and Woodward and Curran, I agree with that. I think that whole thing was way out of whack. And the $36 million for the sewer rebuilding, I was wondering if anybody's keeping track of that. I'd like to know. I'd like to know where that money's going, and is there a balance sheet? Is somebody actually knowing where that money's being spent? Because it seems to me $36 million is a lot of money. And for us to just write that off as, well, that was for rebuilding the plant. My understanding was that when they presented this whole thing, there was nothing wrong with the plant. The plant was well adequate. In fact, it was twice as much capacity as we needed. And I know that there's deals there with, you know, shifts and running the thing over the weekend and all that stuff, which we've heard about. But I think that I'd like to see at least a better report on that. I don't like the fact that, you know, you add a tax that is inappropriate for use. You know, it was said before, the size of the pipe makes a difference. It doesn't. If you fill a gallon can with water, it doesn't matter whether it came from a half-inch pipe or a 10-inch pipe. It's still a gallon of water. So that's nonsense. So I really believe that somebody's got to go back and look at that closely. There's got to be a more equitable way of doing that. I believe they missed the mark on the estimates, and now we're going to listen to those same people on the Public Works thing. And the other thing, just as a side note, these Enfield Cultural Arts, give them $25,000 grant. Now they're putting on a performance at the Annex Fermi building. How much rent are we getting from that? Are we getting any income? Are the taxpayers getting anything for that? I see they're charging, according to the paper, $23 for an adult, $19 for kids or people over 60. I'm wondering if we're realizing any income from that. I know that they have talked about that in the past, but I don't see any income. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it. Anyone else like to speak for the council for the first time? Anyone for the second time? George?
I don't think this is where he left off.
We're going to get a third time.
You got 3 minutes. Can you get it in?
I'm going to try.
All right, go ahead.
But I'll
Sorry.
try. Okay, back to what I had talked about earlier. On page 87 of the Water Pollution Control, there is a $690,517 money transferred to the other funds. I saw that $390,517 went to the general fund, but where did the other $300,000 go? Was it debt repayment for part of the $2,192,000, which was advanced? Also on page 87, there was a $1,812,717 transferred to the capital improvement plan on page 87, of which $1,350,000 is for the collection system and pump station upgrading. The rest seems to be for immediate needs, including another study, which is the CMOM study, which I have no idea what that is, for $75,000, and vehicles for $92,717. Is anyone looking to see if either of these can be done for less? What is the projected cost of the pump station, which the capital account has proposed a budget for the next 6 years to be $550,000 per year and $550,000 for the year just ended? Also, what is the total cost of the collection system in advance of roads work for the next 6 years? It is budgeted at $500,000 per year. These two projects equal approximately $6,850,000 through fiscal year 24. Should we expect to be going longer than that, since in the audit it mentions 10 years? Finally, there was a great job done on the monitoring of the lighting system, and cost savings to be done by the contractor for the guaranteed savings and by an independent outside third party. Is there any type of guarantees and monitoring done now for this project? I did read in the JI that one councilman felt that the council was misled by the former town manager for the initial proposal of the rate increase. But I reject that, because the council should have asked more questions and perhaps got a second opinion. General fund activity, the debt service. Why has our financial audit fees gone from $83,000 per year up to $110,000 per year? Is it because we changed to the firm of Bolio and Company Certified Public Accountants from Portland, Maine? Why would we pick a firm so far away when we could spend the money in the state of Connecticut? It seems that the $110,000 in the debt service area is a doubling of the finance administration expenses on page 34 for the finance audit of $55,000. Is there an explanation? Have we asked if there is more work that our finance accounting department could do to reduce this cost? There was a substantial increase in the lease payments budget from $802,000 to $2.008 million. Is there any one area that we suddenly need more leasing dollars? Our interest and principal obligations are going up substantially due to borrowing. How much more can our taxpayers, and especially seniors and others on a fixed income, handle, and when is it enough? It is time to rein in these debt obligations. We do not want to be the town in Connecticut near the bottom of the financial chain, as Connecticut is when compared to the rest of the 50 states. I'm sure it could continue to go on and on, especially about the condition of St. James Avenue, if you have driven on it lately, my own street, Holly Lane, and its sidewalks, but that should be saved for another time. Do I still some time? First of all, I'd like to commend the Finance Department and the Council on the 24th consecutive year of receiving an award, and I've read this in the audit report, which is great, that they got a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting to the town for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2017, from the Government Finance Officers Association. As it said, this is a prestigious award, and it states that the town published an easily readable and efficiently organized comprehensive annual financial report. That, of course, is the end-of-the-year report after the budget has been prepared, approved, and set into motion. I would like to comment on the 2019 recently approved budget, which we're now utilizing. My firm's first comments are of a cosmetic nature to make the budget more consistent, easy to read, and comprehensive for us average citizens. I'm not going to do the whole budget, but a couple of sections which are a representation of my opinion for the future. Revenue, Social Services Fund Summary Report on page 93. Then on page 94 it says Social Service Fund Revenue Summary, which is a list by source of revenue for actual budget, revised, proposed, and adopted by year. Then on pages 95 and 96 is Social Service Fund Revenue, and it lists by the 12 departments, example, administration, senior center, etc., with a breakout in each department of the source of revenue.
George, sorry. Wrap it up, sir. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Page 97 says Social Services Fund Revenue Departmental Summary. I think the 12 departments are listed with a total revenue for each. And I'd like to see that pages 94 and 93 have the same title. I think this 94 was a mistyping of the word fund as an oversight. In 97, the summary should precede the detail when you do it. I'll have more later.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Anyone else like to speak for the council for the second time? Bob.
Bob T-Katz, Woodgate Circle. The town council has mired us in increasing debt. In 2014, our debt was $24 million. In 2015, it was $44 million, almost double. Now we're going with a $85 million school with a $27 million debt added to that, and at 3% interest, which we're not going to get. That doubles the debt. What are we going to get? We have a very poor Moody's rating. What are we going to get? 6 or 9% interest on this? So that $54 million is going to blow up to over $100 million for this school. And I think that's really, I think your job is to start reducing debt, start cutting departments, start cutting the spending, because the mill rate is out of sight. People do not want to move to Enfield. You got a mentality that build it, they will come. No, you build it, that increases the mill rate. They're not coming to Enfield. You have to reduce the debt. That's what Don Trump's trying to do, reduce the debt, so make America great again. But we're not making, the policies of this council is not making Enfield great again. It's destroying Enfield. And I wish you would start changing your policies and be realistic, because the people of Enfield can't afford all these extra expenses that you're piling on every council meeting, and it's ridiculous.
Thank you, Bob. And let's speak for the council. George, one more time. Yep. Yeah, no problem. You put a lot of work into this.
Thanks. Okay, I'd like to talk now about Page 98 and 99, the Social Services Fund summary expenditures. The 12 functions were listed with the total expenditures for each. Pages 100 to 120, they were all listed by activity for each type of expenditure, salaries, benefits, etc. There are some inconsistencies here because you list the social services boards and commissions at the end of the functions, whereas listed as the 10th function on the page 99 summary. Little details, I know, but when you're reading something and you can't follow it logically, you have to reread it for a third time. I'd like to see a summary of the 12 functions detail, which is not shown, salaries, benefits, supplies, for the total cost of the Social Services Fund. At this point, I've selected one function or department to look at, chosen the Library Fund and then the Senior Center Department. In the Library Department revenue summary, the 5 activities are listed with a source of revenue for each. However, there's no total on the page. The Department of Library summary expenditures in the cover sheet. Then on pages 124 to 133, each activity is listed with a breakdown of the expenses by category, salaries, benefits, etc. Again, I'd like to see the summary by that area of the total expenses for each one of these categories. I'd now like to look at one of the 5 activities of the Library Fund, which is the Senior Center. This year it was transferred from Social Services to the library, and I'd like to ask a few questions which may not be answered tonight, but the board should get answers for their own use to rely on the budget. In the Senior Center, why has the workman's compensation budget gone from $5,000 per year to $110,000 in the 2019 budget? Why are the payroll taxes, which is FICA and Medicare, under budgeted for the Library Fund by $13,500, of which the library activity was underfunded by $10,300? It seems like the only correctly budgeted activity was the swimming activity. In fiscal year 2019 budget on page 122, in the revenue section for the Senior Center, why aren't the cash sales in charges for services as in the prior years? It is now in miscellaneous revenue with contributions and donations. Doesn't seem right. Page 128, the Senior Center, why is the health medical insurance $77,000 so high at 42.3% of salaries? Other activities are around 18%. It is even higher if we pull out part-time payroll. On page 14 of the general revenue summary, miscellaneous revenue includes $599,000 from Eversource incentive program, which was great. It appears that we will continue to save money in this program for the lighting system. On page 15, also of the revenue summary, the $1,224,750, which continues to go down, was only shown as from the Mashantucket Pequot Indians. Does this also include Mohegan Sun? That's it. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thanks, Joe.
Put a lot of work into this, George. This is great. Thank you, sir. Right on time. Anyone else for the last time like to speak for the council? Bob?
Bob T. Katz. You don't realize what it's going to cost for each household for the middle school. It's going to cost, and you got phony numbers out there. It's going to cost $7,000 per household for this middle school. These are not my numbers. These are my numbers from a credit manager from a major company that does the calculations. So you better think twice about going ahead with this middle school because this referendum is a sham. It's going to put immense debt on the people of Enfield for a school that just needs renovating, not renovating to new, for $15 million. So $15 million to 85. We could pay that $15 million without increasing a lot of debt for the taxpayers of Enfield. But you people want to build the Taj Mahal to Don Trump style, and it's not going to be better education. Better buildings don't have a better education. We're in the bottom 20 percentile. We need the money to improve education, not to improve the buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak for the council? Declare public communications closed. Item number 8, councilor communications. Any communications from any councilor? Councilor Falk?
There was a trash recycling report that came out recently, and I was hoping that we could perhaps share that with the public, if not tonight, on another occasion.
Was that a request to the town manager?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I was curious, though. I know 10, 15 years ago we were sending trash to Hartford, CRRA, which is now Mira, and looking at the report, it seems like it's going somewhere else now. I didn't know. Yeah.
Going to West Springfield.
Well, is it going through Suffield before it goes to West Springfield, or directly to Springfield? How does it get there? Are trucks driving to Springfield?
Well, I think West Springfield is drive there, yeah.
Because I had heard other rumors that it was going someplace in Suffield, and what they did with it after that, nobody knew.
Yeah, probably recycling.
Well, it was actually both, but I don't know. So if those questions could be answered, that would be great, too. I did note in correspondence there was a camera mounted at the intersection of Post Road and Raffia Road. I didn't know exactly who paid for that or how it got there. Maybe somebody can answer that question. Or do we have a master plan? Are we going to put cameras all over town, or is it an experiment? Well, give us some detail about what's going on with the cameras. I also had reported 250 Post Office Road. It's a house that I don't think anybody's living in it. Grass is about 1.5 feet deep, and I was hoping that the blight people could address that. And then on the senior center, I would personally go along with changing the hours from Saturday to back during the week, if the council so desires to do that. And lastly, I just wanted to thank you, Chris, for doing an outstanding job with communication. In all the years I've been on, I've never been quite kept so informed about activities, the police department, public works, all these things. You're doing a great job. Thank you. And that goes to all the people that work for you, too. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
First of all, after we finish the roads for this season, can we kind of get an update on where we stand on the budget for roads 2015? And give us kind of an idea of how things have been coming in and if they've been staying on budget. Got a couple of roads that were on the, gee, we might get to those lists that are really starting to crumble. I also like to make a motion to suspend the rules and move items E, F, and G to miscellaneous and proceed to vote.
Motion to suspend the rules and move to miscellaneous by Deputy Mayor Suzak, seconded by Councilor Arnone. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none by show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? We have 10 in favor, 0 against. All set? Done?
Yep.
Councilor Bosco.
As promised, for all the people that say we didn't spend any money on our town buildings or schools, I'm going to read question 3 of the referendum. Been doing it for the last, well, month and a half or so. So here we go again. Shall the town of Enfield appropriate $44 million for reconstruction, repair, and improvements to various town-owned buildings or facilities, including security enhancement to school buildings, and authorize the issue of bond notes, temporary notes, or other obligations in the amount not to exceed $44 million to finance said appropriation. A resolution adopted by the Enfield Town Council at a meeting held on August 24, 2015, shall be submitted into the referendum vote on voting machines or paper ballots by the town electors and qualified voters for the approval or disapproval in conjunction with the election held Tuesday, November 3rd, 2015, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If approved, the resolution presented under the ballot heading above will appropriate $44 million in costs for related construction, repairs, improvements to various town-owned facilities, including security enhancements to school buildings, the project, in accordance with the plan titled Town of Enfield 2015 Proposed Reconstruction, Repair, and Building Referendum, dated July 1st, 2015, the plan. In appropriations may be expended, costs, equipment, fixtures, materials, professional fees, and administrative printing, and legal and finance costs related to the project. The appropriation shall include any federal or state grants in aid received for the project. The appropriation may be expanded all or any portion to the individual projects listed in the plan. Town will finance appropriation by issuing town bonds, notes, or other obligation in the amount not to exceed $44 million. Use of any federal, state, or other grants in aid or funding received for projects using money available and unappropriated and encumbered general fund cash balance in accordance with procedures of Chapter 4, Section 8 of the Town Charter, using monies from other sources determined by resolution of Town Council. Full text of the Town Council resolution on file is available at public inspection. Polling places uses the town of Enfield for elections shall be utilized by town electors for the purpose of the referendum vote. Voters qualified to vote who are not electors shall vote at Enfield Town Hall. Absentee ballots will be available from the town clerk. And that referendum failed, and it was 2,556 yeses and 3,651 noes. So I'm just going to keep reading this till we get to the next referendum, just to let people know. You know, we could have done this with $44 million and patched up all the buildings, but you said no. So when these people come in and say that the council hasn't repaired the buildings and hasn't maintained them, well, we can only spend $650,000, and that doesn't do very many roofs or very much construction. But there you go. Thank you for your time.
Councilor Davis.
Since Marlene left, I agree with what she was saying. We made a promise to the seniors that would do a survey and would put things back, or to whatever the survey is. The survey came back. I don't know why we have not put the hours back, as we promised them to believe and trust us. So if we don't, we're just putting the image back out again to not trust our word of honor to them. So I'm really hoping we can push this forward and give the seniors what they probably want and move their Saturday away. And Karen left, which I was really shocked when she brought up the number 2, vote yes, because I didn't even know that was on there. So I'm wondering if there's more questions. And one on the nurses too, where I saw a sign. Is that right? Does anybody know?
There's 3 questions on a referendum. Am I out of order?
No, go right ahead if you want to. Yep.
There's 3 questions on a referendum. 2 are state questions, so be prepared when you go to vote. I looked at the ballot today, by the way. I was here in the town hall. It's a 2-pager.
I'm just saying what
There's a front and a back. The referendums are on the front, but the back also. For the public, be aware that it's a 2-page thing, and I guess the Register of Voters are going to let you be aware of it, but if you're in a hurry, you better read it all, because it's 2 pages and there's 3 referendums questions on the 2 of them are state questions.
Ones? Okay. Well, yeah, I didn't see it, so I was shocked when she said it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Denny.
Lockbox is number 1. The lockbox.
Transportation. Okay.
Transportation is the other one.
Okay. And then if we can just, through the mayor to town manager, if someone could explain, we didn't vote tonight on raising anything. It was just the correct, the wording, right? That was it, which actually saved them a little bit of money because the wording was wrong. So I just hoping someone can clarify that, because I took it as we did not vote on anything except for just fixing the wording, that it was wrote wrong. George, I want to thank you for that. I'm over here pulling out the budget because of the stuff you said, and I'm trying to see it. And you are right. Now I have some questions too. So thank you for all that work you did. And the same with Bob and Jack. Thank you for all your research you always do, and that you come forward, and then I have a lot of notes. I think that's everybody. I don't think I missed anybody. But I do hope that we do move along and get the seniors' hours switched back to what we promised them. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Sakala?
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. One, I did attend the Outrun Addiction 5K that was last Saturday. What an amazing turnout. I would love to commend the people who put on that event and organized it. There was something over 270 walkers and runners. 298 was the final number. Thank you, Eileen. What an amazing turnout. So great to see such a strong community outpouring for such a great event. We'll say that I met my goal on my run, so that was great. But I think the person who came in, one of the police officers here in Enfield, was like 18 minutes and something, so good for him. I want to be like him when I grow up. But in a couple of comments, one regarding the senior center, I think we did talk about this last meeting, so again, I think there's been sort of through the mayor to the town manager, a couple of requests. We need to get this back on our radar because we did say if Saturday didn't work out that we were going to put it back, so I think we need to do that. Thank you. And lastly, George, your very thorough report is exactly why this council should not be in charge of the WPC. Yeah. So I will leave it at that, and I appreciate your research. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Crissati?
I'd like to reiterate the same thing, George. Thank you for that report. It was excellent. I'm going to go through it again with the budget here, double check, go through it again. But thank you for that. You know, once again, Marlene, she did state about the survey of the senior center, especially with, you know, being on the Commission on Aging. And in the audience here, I just want to give a special thanks to Tim Slade and also Andrea at Social Services for coordinating their efforts in servicing 132 residents with the senior home repair. You should be commended for that and all the volunteers that have helped you. I think you had a team of 7 people helping. They're scheduled out until October 30th. However, he extended it to November 6th for the cleaning of gutters and removing of air conditioners. You know, once again, thank you for your hard work on that. And I just wanted to mention that so everybody can hear that on TV. Also, grandparents raising grandchildren. There's a meeting October 22nd. There's this awesome brochure that is available, and I just wanted everybody to show everybody. Amy Morales and Kate Talarita are very active in this role and organization, and you know, it's a very important group. Triad has a pancake breakfast October 24th at the Senior Center, and I am thrilled that at the Senior Center that there's going to be an evacuation drill October 31st. So there's a lot of good things that are happening over there. Also, I did attend the Kite annual meeting and dinner at Enfield High School. Special thanks to Chef O on his dinner. And the presentation by Leanne Bolio and the staff was absolutely outstanding. The people that were there, and I know
we built
Mayor
bucks.
Ludwig and Mr. Falk were in attendance, and you know, they gave us a group activity to do with a bag of Legos and sharing activity, the theme of play. It's just an outstanding evening. And I also want to just mention that Allied Rehabilitation Services Sports and Recreation fundraiser that they had last week was a success, and they really do an outstanding job. And I think maybe one of these council meetings we should have that group in here to be recognized, you know, because they do an outstanding job for our community. So that's all I have to say at this point. Thank you.
Councilor Arnone.
Yeah, I'll weigh in with the Senior Center too again. I did last meeting also, but I think there's not a problem with trying out Saturday hours if we fund Saturday hours. In this case, we cut hours during the week and tried an experiment on Saturday. I don't have a problem with the experiment. I have a problem with cutting the hours to make something else happen. It was very counterproductive in that department. So if we can restore the weeknight hours, and if we want to see if there's time for Saturday to work overtime, I think we got to fund it. As for the Water Pollution Control Fund, I've been saying since I got on this council that the WPCA should be separate. Maybe this is now the time we can find some support with enough councilors here to make that happen. It's very complicated.
We went through a huge change in that department, very complicated structure, and it needs its own committee that can work long hours on making this a much better system than it is now. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Denny, sorry.
George, Thomas Street, St. Thomas Street will be done next year. Holly Lane is still not on the list, but I will guarantee you that St. James is going to be done. It's the last road list on the referendum, correct? Thank you.
Councilor Crisati?
Okay, I just have one other thing, and this is another shout out to DPW. On Meadowlark Road, the catch basin replacement, and recognizing that road definitely needs to be reconstructed, and with drain improvements. So, thank you for that. I know the residents are pleased with the work that was done down there. So, I wanted to mention that earlier, but I forgot. But I didn't forget now. Thanks.
Councilor Muller?
On Freshwater Boulevard, there's 3 light poles missing. There's 3 missing from the post office in front of Leah and at Elm and Freshwater. I didn't know if there was an update on those.
There's one right at the beginning was knocked down.
Yeah, it was knocked down, and I think the other one was as well.
All set?
And the JFK girls soccer beat Windsor today 6-2.
Very good.
Thank you.
Must be the field. So real quick, for Mr. Young, I don't disagree with him. We had to go to an audit group in Maine, but that was because of the bid process where we had to go out to bid. And unfortunately, we couldn't retain the audit firm that we liked from Connecticut. And we just simply didn't receive any bids from other, Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't receive any other bids from Connecticut. That, then we went out to bid. That's why we had to go to a Maine auditor. So that's reasons why we did it. We certainly much rather do business in Connecticut, but we didn't really have a choice. And it was per the charter that we had to do it. We didn't really want to go out to bid. And again, great job of the budget. And John, it's submitted in public record. If you wouldn't mind taking a look at some of his suggestions. George is a public accountant, so he took the time to go through the whole budget. Again, thank you. So if we could just take a time to look through it. Any suggestions? We'd love to work with George on it. Chris, quick question on the website. Someone mentioned earlier. So when we post the meetings, so the 6 o'clock meeting, was it on the website shown as a WPCA meeting?
It should have been, to my knowledge, and there was an article done by Jessica on Friday in the JI, so we put it out there and we mentioned it at the last meeting, so I believe so.
All right, just because one of the individuals mentioned this just said a 6 o'clock meeting, which I didn't, yeah.
No, Suzanne says it was there.
Okay.
I mean, we were very cognizant of the fact we wanted people to know so they could come.
Yeah, okay. And so we'll make sure we publicize when we have it in November. And then just real quick, some clarification, Chris, you may go this in a par. I mean, you and John talked to the Moody's and Poor's after our budget passed in June, I believe, or July of this year, which reaffirmed our bond rating, when a lot of municipalities in the state have been their bond rating lowered. So someone mentioned earlier that our bond rating got worse, which is not true. The simple fact is we maintain our bond rating. And the debt that we'll be issuing for JFK, we're getting the lowest interest rate at this point. Or one of the
I can just say it now. John and I, we spent a lot of time making the presentation to Standard & Poor's in anticipation of going out for bonds. It just shows no matter, and probably nobody pays attention more than Mr. T-Cats. So even despite our best efforts, we've reported it here and we put it on the website. We did a press release. We don't always reach everybody. But we did maintain our high Standard & Poor's rating that we had last year. Many municipalities slipped, especially in looking at what the state situation was. And as a matter of fact, when we then went out and they did a bid, the rates that we got in the 2% range, and John will have the specifics on long and short term, we actually got the rates, according to Bond Council, that the top rated S&P got in the state of Connecticut. So we got the same rates that they did. So virtually it was like having the top rating. So we'll continue to work. But again, they do a top to bottom review of all town projects, expenditures, programs, the budget and everything the council is doing in making that review.
Yeah, so if you're for or against JFK, that's your choice. But again, the bottom line is we did our debt service research to make sure that folks understood. We understood the long-term debt before we put this out to referendum. I want to make sure that's clear. And the two last things, I want to just recommend, again, another good corporate partner. Kohl's donated $500 to the high school girls soccer team, again, to their program, which, again, we have great corporate partners in this town. And I know we don't get to all of them, but they do a great job of donating to not only our sports, to schools, and all the activities we do in town. We couldn't do it without our corporate partners. And it's great to see them continue to do that. And then last thing, this is just me. I mean, it's great driving around town, seeing all the Halloween decorations and the lights. I mean, it's a small town New England, and it's great when you drive around and folks take the time to decorate, their house. Halloween is my favorite holiday, and again, I think if you take a little time, the town is lit up pretty well. And again, I appreciate everyone who takes the time to do it, because I know it takes work and it takes effort. So thank you. Moving on. Town manager report, item number 9.
Sure. Are there any questions on the PAR to start with? I can just inform you, I spoke to leadership. Given the press of business and the fact we're getting a lot of information out between meetings, we're going to go to the formal updates once a month. We're not going to slide back. Other updates as important and that directors feel should be made every 2 weeks, we will do. And if it slides back and we see that we need to go back to the twice a month, we'll do that.
Any questions? If not, Daniel?
No, I was going to respond to, you had several other questions you wanted me to address, so I think it would be important to do so just in a brief manner. Number one, I think one of the residents had alluded to the fact that there was under consideration going to a police fee or permit. There's been no discussion whatsoever. I don't know where that's coming from. I've never heard of such a thing. I wouldn't support it, and I don't want there to be any misapprehension of fact in the community that that's under consideration. In regard to the senior center hours, this is a matter that we took seriously, and like we're trying to do in many other areas, and we'll see later on adult daycare, we're trying to gather empirical data for you to make informed decisions. That was done. The surveys have been continued to check who has come, and truthfully, I spoke to Jason recently, the hours even right up to last Saturday are low. There was a discussion, and there were counselors who asked that we give it a good try, that in the summer it might not be reflective of winter hours. They're making a real effort. The JI article, the senior center director said, we're going to try to get young people in. We're not doing it to give lip service. We're really making an effort for them to promote it, to see if there are those young seniors who want to come. The mayor had basically said try it for a month or two. That's what I've told them to do. Try it through October and November. We'll keep track of the data, and if the numbers aren't there, then they will go to what their recommendation is, which we had the schedule, and it would entail at this juncture curtailing the Saturday hours at this time and increasing them during the week. So that's the game plan. Unless there's a consensus to do otherwise, let me know. The Water Pollution Control Project, Director Nunes and I, this was kicked off in September. It is almost a $40 million project. There's grant money, there's DPE, deep oversight. The director and I have attended every single weekly meeting at the Water Pollution Control. Every Tuesday morning, there's one tomorrow, to monitor the progress, and to the point of our citizens, there is a strict submission and reimbursement schedule for our grant money, so we do have every week an update of what's been done and how much it's cost. Last Tuesday after the meeting, monthly, the state comes, and we met with them here. We went upstairs with our consultant and streamline how to get it on our website and how to do it on Water Pollution Control's website, so that we can give that information directly to our residents going forward. There's a groundbreaking that will be made public with officials from the town and the state coming. I believe it's October 21st, 10 a.m., and everybody will be invited to that. But we're keeping close eye on this. The
24th.
24th, sorry, a lot of dates. And that'll be, when they finalize it, that'll be out there. But we're keeping an eye on it, and we'll get the financial information in a format that is readable and understandable and get that out too. And we also, Donald, we're only 5% into the project, and starting at the next PAR, he'll also have an update there for you. I'll just give a brief update. We've done a lot of work. I just ask for the public's patience. We do listen. When we do have public hearings, we do listen. We did it on the motor vehicle ordinance. We took all of those comments from all of our citizens, the police, council, and we've been working on it diligently in many, many meetings for many hours to completely rewrite it, to make it enforceable, to make it practical, to give actual, and we're recommending a complete change in personnel, funding those personnel to do it, and then funding and being able to have hearing officers at the end, so we don't fall down and make mistakes after all the hard work's been done to try to enforce it. That's still on schedule with the town attorney to make the report. She's working on the draft. We went to the subcommittee. They liked it, and all of that, plus funding and new job descriptions, will be looked at in November. And what I'd like to do, so we don't go through, it's really, you put the cart before the horse. We have a public hearing after we've already made the changes, and then it's on for a vote, and it's too late. And that's what happened last time. It was done more for ministerial purposes for the police department, but once we saw the huge area of concern by council and residents, we opened it up completely. It won't be perfect. There are other issues we'll address after that, but I think it'll go a whole heck of a long way in addressing the real concerns of the council and the citizens. So we'll have that draft. What I'd like to do again, a 6 to 7 meeting. We're going to put it on the website. We're going to hand it out, let everybody see what we've done, and then have the 6 to 7, let the public come in again, let them comment on it, they'll have looked at it, and then the council can make their comments, and once we say that looks good, at the following meeting, we'll put it down for the public hearing and a vote, so we don't just keep on going around and around to rewrite it. At some point, you got to put ink to paper, and that's what we're doing on that ordinance, and I think you're going to be pleased with it. The subcommittee certainly was. Let's see, in regard to roads, that's something I've been meeting with the director on. Donna, I want an update, and also we need a plan. We need a plan going forward. The most calls we get are on sidewalks and potholes and streets. There isn't money. How do we deal with it? What do you do with your constituents? We need a plan. And you know what? Some people get frustrated. Oh, it's boilers, it's roofs, it's driveways, it's sidewalks. When will it end? It'll never end. Does it end at your house? You need a dishwasher. You have to do the driveway. We got to do painting. We got to replace siding. It's budgeting. It's planning. It's having a plan and a strategy for the future. It's never going to end here, folks. And this council and the facilities have made huge strides. Look at the high school. Look at the roads projects. Even looking at JFK, the water pollution control. You're trying to address it. It isn't easy. It isn't cheap. It's costly. But you have to have a plan. And my friends, it will never end. When you're long gone and I'm long gone, we'll have to replace roofs again, and we'll have to do all these other things. So we shouldn't be discouraged by it. We should embrace it, understand it's part of life, and just let's get the job done. And with that, without further ado, part of our communicating, I'll invite Mr. Daniels up with the director. What I sort of learned from sitting up here for so long is that all information is perishable and things change. We have new council people, we have new residents, we have new employees, and it comes to leaf collection time, and everybody forgets how we do it. Right. So in keeping with that, I said let's have a brief presentation now, because it's going to start next month, and let the public and let the council know, so when you're questioned, you have an idea of what's going to go on. And likewise, next month in November, we're going to do the same thing for road clearing and for how we go out there and clear ice and snow and the state roads and the town roads. So again, people know, you know, and the staff knows.
Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you.
So I have Daniel Edwards tonight. He is the Assistant Director of Public Works, and he's going to give a very exciting talk about leaves. So it'll be it's a little lighter conversation than some of the other things, so hopefully it'll go over well, and again, if we can play along. We have some handouts for everybody, and we can follow along. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Town Manager, Council, thank you. From the flyer, you can see we changed the flyer up from last few years. We tried to simplify the information going out because there was a lot of confusion with the residents because there's two different collections going on during the same month, and they were getting confused with which was what. So we just separated it on the flyer. To the leaf collection side, it's going to be what we normally do. The Monday collections is going to be the first full week of November. For those who normally get their garbage picked up or the trash picked up on Mondays, and then so on Tuesday the second week, Wednesday the third week, and Thursday the fourth week. That's pretty standard what has been happening here since before I got here, since I believe they stopped picking it up with the sucker for the leaves on the side of the roads. We also trying to get the residents to understand that, you know, we're only picking up leaves during those weeks with a certain truck. If you see a garbage truck, they're not going to pick up your leaves. It's going to be a leaf truck. So there's going to be different trucks out there. So a lot of residents will call and say, well, they didn't pick up my leaves, because there's more than one truck out there doing different things, and recycling, refuse, and leaves are going to be out there at the same time. Moving to the regular yard waste collection. This is the yard waste collection that we've been doing pretty much since April, so we're going to probably stop early December. So this is the Friday pickup. It's different than the leaf collection, and that's where the confusion always comes in at. These are the dates that we're going to still pick up your Friday brown tipper barrel with your brush in there, or your twigs or your tree limbs. This is the pickup for that. It's different from the leaf collection. That's the big confusion. It's different from the leaf collection. If your garbage is picked up on Mondays, and we are on the first week of the collection, and you have leaf bags out on your Friday, we will not be picking up those bags if your collection is not on that Monday. So those other trucks are going to be picking up just the yard waste, because those items go to Connecticut Mulch, and we compost all the leaves. So it's a difference in collection for those days. And there's 2 weeks missing in the month of November because of holidays, Veterans Day and Thanksgiving. So we had to push that back, and we cut back on overtime. So that's why we got rid of those. The transfer station hours are on the back of the flyers. Those where you can see all the dates that we're going to be open for the transfer station. You can see that we're going to be open on Sundays, but we're not going to be open on all the Mondays, and then, of course, the 13th and the 22nd. Those are the hours that we're going to be operating the transfer station. The Sundays is from 12 to 4, and it's for leaves and yard waste only. Leaves and yard waste only. We will not be receiving residents for junk, bulk, recycling, any other item that we normally do, Freon, textiles, any of those items. It's only for the yard waste and leaf collection. It's also on the website. It's already on the website. It's been up there, I believe, since this morning. So it's available for the residents. We've already given the information to the newspapers, and I believe that's it. If there's any questions, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say if there's any questions.
You are. You can. You should.
You're not going to be able to avoid it.
No question. Deputy Mayor Suzak.
I guess my favorite item, can we add that, people can also purchase the red ticket to use on their gray barrels? Mm-hmm. And my neighborhood's really big on leaves. And also, we recycle our leaves through other, I guess, businesses in town. Is that go out to bid for them to receive the leaves? Because I know I've had a couple inquiries by some of the farmers.
Yes, ma'am.
In the district. And
it does go out to bid.
It does. And then when will that happen?
I want to say next year it'll go out again for the next 3 years.
Okay, next year. Okay.
I want to say that.
All right. So if we can add that, because I know the red ticket's really kind of important.
Well, it's important to note that the red tags are only for the gray tipper barrels.
That's
it's not
right.
for the blue ones, and you can't put your red tag on the gray barrel and just leave the gray barrel out. You have to have a brown one out with it.
Correct.
So there's rules.
And your neighbor can't put their gray barrel out with you because you put an ugly sticker on it.
Exactly.
I understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
All set?
Yep. Thank you.
Councilor Denny?
Yeah, I think you may have to tweak this because November 23rd, and you people always work the day after Thanksgiving. It's not a holiday for you?
It's not we're working that day, but it'll only be for refuse.
Oh, and you're not going, it's not for yard waste?
Not for yard waste.
All right, thank you.
Good question.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Because I know you're working,
Well,
but you're not going to pick
I
up
won't be
yard
here.
waste. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate you putting this together. I think this is,
Yeah.
especially this is great. So I appreciate you guys putting this together, and I think to the town manager's point, I'd rather just overwhelm people with information. So I mean, I
Yes,
think
sir.
this is great, and it's simple, it's to the point, and it explains exactly how it's going to work. And so I just hope we do this on a yearly basis. This is great. If we
the
already do
flyer's
it, then
been
great,
out.
but even if we, I don't know, press release, whatever we normally, just.
It was
continue.
it was in the
I already did it?
journal
Good.
today, yeah.
Perfect.
It was in the journal?
Yeah, I saw it in the journal.
Again, thank you. I think this is great. So appreciate it. Anyone else have any questions? Getting off easy. Thank you very much.
And I'm leaving. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Donald.
Thanks for sticking around. Moving on to item 10, Town Attorney Report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. I really was going to just briefly update you since the public hearing 2 weeks ago on motor vehicles, but the town manager pretty much covered it. I will say that we are working to incorporate the comments that we got from the council and from the residents. We sat with staff. We've made the changes so that the property maintenance provisions that were more applicable will also be in the motor vehicles. So rather than have these two different schemes, because they're both blight ordinances under the statute, under the enabling legislation, they're both blight ordinances, so they can be handled very much the same in terms of enforcement. So you'll get more, but that's basically where we are, and I think Development Services seem to be happy, at least in concept, with where we were moving.
Any questions for the town attorney?
I apologize, old habits die hard.
No, and I think, Maria, I know some folks are pretty passionate tonight about this ordinance, and you folks are working on it very hard, and our goal is to have something hopefully by, worst case, December, maybe November.
Oh,
But I don't want to, I also want folks to know that you are working on it with the appropriate people, so we can have a robust, again.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So
And
I don't want.
to the manager's point, that we basically give everyone a chance before we're at that 11th hour so that these changes can be made and it's a workable ordinance for all of you. We did say November, we were aiming for, and I know that the mayor had forwarded a series of questions to our department for answering, and we shared some of those with other staff members so that they could weigh in if they needed to. So, yes, that's our goal.
No, I appreciate it. I just want folks who sent us questions and asked that we are working on it. I wish we could give them the answers tomorrow, but again, this does take time to do it right. So again, I know your staff is working on it, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep, go ahead.
I got 2 phone calls, and I think Councilor Bosco brought it up too. Businesses. Lango on Route 5 called me today. He's very concerned about it because he has cars on his property. It's a business.
Right.
We had a problem in the past on Route 5. I won't mention the names. The people are gone now, but that was a disposal area for junk cars, and I think they sued the town or tried to initially. So are we addressing gas stations or garages or whatever you call it that have blighted cars there, or maybe we think they're blighted and they're really not?
Right.
Is that going to be in that?
I don't believe so.
No.
Not in that ordinance. I mean, there are some things that are covered in zoning in terms of junkyards and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
These blight ordinances are typically to relieve housing blight,
Okay.
and so that's typically.
So basically, it's going to be for residents and not businesses.
Primarily, yes. I mean, I don't want to shoehorn you in here because I know there have been cases where, even though the statute says housing blight, it also addresses things like parking lots, and most of us who have residences do not have parking lots. So there has been some application with other areas. So there's going to be some latitude, but I'm not sure, to answer your question quite honestly, if businesses are going to be covered. It's a housing blight statute, so primarily I would think not. But we'll know for sure.
Any other questions for the town attorney? Thank you, Maria, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any reports of item 11, report of special committees? Hearing none, moving on to item 12, old business. On page 1, appointments A, 1, and 2, we have none. Page 2, appointments 3 through 15, we have none. On page 3, 16 through 19, we have none. Item B on page 3, appointments by the town manager, 1 through 10, we have none. Items on page 4, 11 through 14, again, we have none through the town manager. Item 13 is new business, there is no consent agenda. Item B, town council appointed, we have items 1 and 2. And do we have a motion to, so new business, we just have a motion to approve, right, Suzanne? Do we have a motion or a nomination for item number 2, I believe?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Raymond Gush. I think it's.
We have a nomination to reappoint Raymond. I'm not even going to try his last name.
Second.
Seconded by, made by Counselor Falk, seconded by Counselor Arnone. Is there a motion to close nominations? By Counselor Falk, seconded by Counselor Denny. All those in favor of closing the nomination by a show of hands? Those opposed, any abstentions? We have 10 in favor, 0 against. Any discussion on the main motion of the reappointment of Raymond? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
Raymond Gush.
Counselor Crissati.
4.
Counselor Davis. 4. Counselor Denny.
Raymond Gush.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Raymond Gush.
There's 10 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Under new business, item C, there is no appointments by the town manager. Item D, there is no P&Z commission appointed by the council. We move to item 14, items for discussion. A, there is no consent agenda. Again, B, no appointments from the town council. Item C, no appointments by the town manager. And item D, no appointments for P&Z commission appointed, council approved. Items E, F, and G have been moved to miscellaneous. So item H is under items of discussion, adult daycare, before we get to miscellaneous.
I would invite the Director of Social Services, Dawn Omobutia, to come up. Oh, sorry.
Welcome,
I'll just
Dawn.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
I'll just give a preface. This is a matter that had come up during the last budget. It has been discussed in governance. Dawn has been tracking the attendance at the adult daycare. There were adjustments in funding last year in the budget, and keeping with, again, giving you information and information in advance of the budget to make informed decisions later, not in a rush. This is part of that. She came before the subcommittee, and basically at this juncture would like guidance. She will give you the numbers. They are lower. And the question really becomes, would you like to continue the program as it is, knowing that other for-profit and other concerns run it more state-of-the-art with much more modern facilities and have higher attendance. And for instance, the town of Windsor, I believe, invested about $400,000 in upgrading theirs, and certainly people are coming to that. Ours is older. Doesn't offer the same level of services, so I think that's part of it. She's also, and she said this in the past, that there's more attempts to keep people in the home and provide services there. But the bottom line is this: do you want to continue it as is, or her options previously were based upon the numbers? Do you want to have her assist in relocating those residents, and she'll give you the breakdown for town residents and non, assist them into other facilities in the area, or go out to an RFP and have somebody come in at that site and run the program for us if it saves money. And again, these are hard decisions. I know there's, from the council persons, I wasn't here, but sitting there I heard there's a lot of emotion, a lot of family members and people over the decades who have used those services, so I know it's near and dear to your heart. But this is, you don't have to make the decision this evening, but I just don't want you to have to do it at 11 or 12 at night during the budget, because we're not going to really have any more information than we have now. So in keeping with making the hard decisions, she's here to seek guidance, and Dawn, take it away.
Sure. So, thank you. So I'll just do a little walk down memory lane for the budget pieces last year. What we tried to do was increase the revenue. So we've asked for additional grants, mostly from the North Central Area Agency on Aging. We did try to look at cost containment, primarily through reductions in staffing. So we have one full-time manager, 2 part-time CNAs who are at 30 hours fully benefited, and then we support staff over there with the social worker who is not included in the budget, who's paid for out of social services, adult and community services. She carries that caseload. So I think what we did was we came up with a nice balance. The budget, as projected, we negotiated out what we thought would be a reasonable enrollment based on the fact that we're licensed for 40. We thought if we could maintain 20 people on average, that would be reasonable. We went back and looked at the numbers. Average monthly attendance in 2014 was 21 people. In 2016, it was down to 17. In 2018, it was down to 16. For the first quarter of this month, we were holding pretty steady at 11. We had rate increases, as you know, voted in the budget that went up July 1st. We have minimum requirements for a 2-day minimum now as opposed to before. And so right now, we're having an active caseload average of about 9 people a day. So I still have 3 staff on for 9 because that's basic safety requirements. We can't really go lower than that. We've done supplemental fundraising. We've maintained the austerity measures that were in place for last year in terms of cost containment for other issues. We have had to call on staffing, Caring Solutions for additional staffing for per diems to cover vacations and medical leaves and things like that. But we're well within where we projected to be for the first quarter. So that's, I guess, kind of the good news. We did go out and make visits to East Hartford, to a facility in Southbury, and we did visit the Windsor site. I can say those facilities, as Chris mentioned, have either been built as state-of-the-art facilities or they've been renovated into state-of-the-art facilities. We have a very small space. It's pretty open. We do pretty much everything in the same area. We eat. There's some crass activities, the medical containment thing for clients as well. And so I think it's really just kind of, we have to make a decision, one path. We can invest funds and work with the Housing Authority to upgrade the facility. I haven't done bids on that. I don't know what that would cost, but we do have some support from other ADCs who will help us kind of figure out where that needs to go. We do have the opportunity to work with the Felicians and other facilities that offer comparable programming in the area to relocate the 9 folks that come on a regular basis. We have about 15 people registered, so we could work with all those families. About 1/3 of them are out-of-town non-residents. We would work with the families. Jessica would handle that from a social work perspective in terms of placing and finding facilities and things like that. It's really at your discretion. We did just, as you know from the PAR, get recertified for 2 years. So and staff, Joanne and Jess, were great in terms of pulling all that administrative stuff together. They did hours and hours and hours of preparation. It really did show. It showed up in the review, so we were happy about that. So really, at this point, we just kind of need some additional directions. And Joe is great. He allowed us to use one of the social service subcommittee meetings to kind of have this conversation. And I believe Deb was able to send out for you the PowerPoint presentation that we prepared when we went over that. And that's just kind of a status of where we are now. So,
any questions from anyone? Councilor Falk?
Yeah, it seems to me back when we were doing the budget deliberations in April that there was talk of a private company who was interested in taking over the operation. I think they weren't going to do it at that location and they weren't going to use the same people, but they were interested in taking the clients, I guess. Whatever happened with that?
So we originally, and this was probably way back in the, I want to say in the spring, we had 2 inquiries, or I received 2 inquiries, one from another adult day center facility and another from a home care agency, saying if any point in time that you all had decided that you wanted to work on some other plan for operation, not the town directly running the service as we do now, but perhaps a subcontracting agreement, that they might be interested in pursuing that. And then we went into this other dialogue on the budget, and so we kind of put that aside. There is an opportunity, if you'd like us to go out and see if there is interest out there to operate it still as a facility, but have the town work at a subcontracting agreement. It's basically contracting out for the services that we would currently provide ourselves with staff.
Yeah, I think we should follow up on that, get more information, see if it's feasible.
So that would be something that we work with finance on, our dear friends who help us go out to provide services. But
well, that was one of the 2 main options. And you know, it's been a busy evening. There's been a lot to digest. We don't have to do this tonight. I just wanted to bring it to the fore. I'm going to have, unless there's a consensus, to go out for an RFP, which I think you need to think about it more. She'll get all that information that she just talked about. We'll get it to the council again. Again, when you get it during the rush of the budget, it's lost in a blur. So we'll get it to you. We'll keep it on the agenda. You can discuss it, caucus about it, and then we can give her more direction in November, if that's amenable. We just wanted to get it on the radar and see if you had any other questions.
Councilor Falk?
Well said. Thanks.
Councilor Arnaud?
So, just like we did with Public Works, and I really think after all the years of seeing this increase, decrease, had conversations back with Matt Koppler over the years on this, and You know, this has been an issue for a number of years. It's a great service. I have a ton of questions. I have questions like, who else provides the scaled, the cost scaling for each individual that goes in there? Because I don't want to boot people out of this program that cannot get subsidies in other programs because they can't afford it, because that's what we do in government to make sure that our elderly are going to get the care they need with the money they have. I would like to see, just like we did with Public Works, I want to see an outside company come in, give us some options. I want to take a look at do a management study on all these issues from a third-party outside firm and get some answers and some different ideas that we can do. Thank you.
And we'll get that, and that's why we're here. And I will just let you know, and I know how the council feels about this, this is to provide the best service possible for our seniors. And if somebody else can do it better, then we should consider it. If we can do it, or you want to invest in that's something out of your priorities you want to concentrate on, then we should do it. But again, it's just giving you the dignity of having time to consider it and not be rushed. So she's listening to all your questions.
Councilor Denny?
Didn't we upgrade this facility? I was involved with Matt Koppler when the Buildings and Grounds went over there and we split the cost and did a walkthrough and fixed awnings and fixed sidewalks and all of that. That had to be less than a year or 2 years ago, maybe at the most. Most of that facility. And again, the numbers were up. I think at some point in time we stopped picking people up. We have shot ourselves in the foot, and I think that's why part of the numbers are down. People have come here before. We've had numbers. Now there's 9 people. There was 25 or whatever the capacity was. It's a revolving door in that place. And I think if we give it up, if the town gives this up, then we're at the mercy of St. Joe's or other facilities. If we can do it for a cheaper price of people, and I agree with Tom, there's too many things to look into, and I'm dead against closing that place up. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Susan?
Tom, I just need a clarification of what you asked. Did you ask for all of social services? Because
no,
it's
this in particular department to take a look at this.
Okay.
Yes.
Because for the DPW, we did everything.
We did. We added
Okay.
actually to DPW too. But
Okay.
No, just for this one facility.
All right.
A facility study in a way.
Yeah. And we still do pick people up, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep, Dial-A-Ride provides that service. That's also outside the Adult Day Center budget. That's budgeted through Dial-A-Ride. So that's in transit services as opposed to directly with the
It was
Adult Day
always
Center.
budgeted through
Yes.
Dial-A-Ride. Correct. Thank you.
So I'm happy to reach out to the Connecticut Association of Adult Day Centers. They are the ones who did our peer review to see if there's any assistance that they can provide us. I'll start with pro
If we also
bono,
look
pro
at
bono
it,
services
if
first.
it's not the
obviously.
RFP, can we look at what it would do to help relocate folks? So both options you
Oh, yeah,
mentioned.
yeah,
So I mean, I'm assuming
yeah.
that's part of it, right? So
Yes.
just to have the information.
Yep.
You know, and again, I think that's why we're doing it now, is to actually give folks a chance to make informed decisions. I mean, that's why we're doing it now, instead of waiting to the budget and, you know, no one wants to throw anyone out in the street, but we have to make sure we make smart budget decisions in a very tough budget where we're trying to get more money for cops, we're trying to get more hours at the senior center. I mean, these things cost money.
And again, much like the senior center, we got the data.
Right.
We would not tolerate for those in charge of the senior center to not make a real effort to give Saturdays a try and just give lip service and fake it and then come to you and say, here's the foregone conclusion. Not going to allow it here either. Right. They're making, you directed her. I think she's done a real good job in trying to make a go of it, to really reach out and make it better, but it reaches a point where without substantial investment in capital improvements in the program, you can only go so far. So I trust, and that's why we're here. Truth, disclosure, transparency, give you all the information, and it's not an easy decision, but however you decide, that's what direction we'll go in.
And thank you, Don. I know
Sure.
you put a lot of work and your staff into this as well.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Just one last comment to sort of piggyback on Chris, and I want to acknowledge that you're kind of in a no-win situation on this, because you are doing what we've asked you to do, is to look at this and see if there's a way to cut costs, you know, in general budget. So I understand that and I appreciate that. But you're also going to come up against a lot of resistance on closing this, and I will be one of them. But I understand you're doing in general, what you've been asked to do. So I will acknowledge that you're in a very difficult position, but it's going to be an uphill battle if we're going to close
Yeah,
this
and I
place.
just want to say, I don't have a personal stake in this. I'm willing
I'm
to
not saying you do.
retrain staff, work on staff development, do all the, bids and everything we would need to bring the, estimates into you guys so you can make a decision. I think, to be honest with you, we did a great job raising the revenue. We actually brought in additional grants, and so we're going to be able to reflect that change with the budget. So I think on that end, it's really up to you guys to decide if you want to invest the general fund dollars in maintaining the service with that few people. That's the bottom line.
And we're not here at her behest. She did not request this. This is my bringing it forward because, like in other matters, whether it's Novak, we have to follow up. We can't just say something and then just let it drop, and then you get to the budget again and you don't have the information. So I'm a real stickler about making lists and holding people accountable and coming back to you with the information you asked for, even though it may be uncomfortable for all of us and not easy, but that's what we're going to do.
And I agree. It's our direction, and
Yep.
you've been, and again, you've done a great job, and you've handled it with class, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to work harder for you all.
Anyone have any other questions for Don? Yeah.
To just really what Ed was saying about the rides to the day center.
Yep.
So, if I'm wrong, correct me.
Yep.
Wasn't when some of the clientele, the family members came and spoke, the CNA was taken off the bus and they felt the safety of their parent was not, compromised over that. Am I remembering this right?
The rides continue. The buses do continue to pick up and to drop off. There were some family members who expressed some concern, but I can tell you that we've not had one incident since the CNAs were taken off the bus in January. We did also, if you remember, get permission probably 2 years ago to pick up out-of-town residents in East Windsor. We were able to do that because somebody else was already paying for one of our buses to go to East Windsor. When that contract was ended by the corporation, we were no longer able to finance the East Windsor bus route. So that impacted 3 families, but what ultimately ended up happening is their caregivers were bringing them into the adult day center. So we didn't lose those folks. I mean, I'm just going to be honest, they're medically fragile. The average age is almost 81 of the folks that we see, and so we have a lot of issues with health, basically, that impacts who comes and who can come, who's hospitalized, who has to go to rehab before they can come back. I mean, it's a complicated business on that end, and we don't have a lot of young folks. We can take folks as young as 50 with early dementia and Alzheimer's, but that's not the caseload that we're carrying. So I don't know if that answers enough of your question,
No,
Liz,
it
but
did
the
answer it,
transportation,
yeah.
And we felt, frankly, when we looked at that all we do in Dial-A-Ride is transport seniors and disabled folks, and frankly, everybody could use an assist on a Dial-A-Ride bus, not just the adult day centers. And when we costed out the transit assistance, it was just too expensive to be able to afford during the budget. That's basically what happened.
And part of it's just the way, again, it's evolving in a marketplace.
Yeah.
The marketplace wants people to stay in their homes. They go back to the community. So it's just not that these centers aren't, but that's what the healthcare providers are saying. And
well, families do,
right,
too.
that's what the families
Yeah,
want as well.
yeah.
So it's,
preference. So, and the Medicaid, the difference in the Medicaid structure has really impacted the business operation, because now you can choose to stay home and you get more hours of care at a reduced rate. So it's more financially feasible for many families.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
So this will stay on the table. It'll move to new business next time.
Correct.
Yep.
You can stay up here, Director, because
Susan,
the next 2 items are
I
yours.
don't have to make a motion to move the new business. It just automatically, right? Got it. Thank you. So we now move to item 15, miscellaneous. Item E, discussion resolution, request to transfer funds for the Enfield Family Resource Center, $72,726. Resolved in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made to Family Resource Center from other professional services, 220-46098-533900 of $47,726. Travel, Fund 220-46098-55800, $8,000 of $7,000. Instructional supplies of 220-46098-561100 of $1,000. Furniture, 220-46098-573300 of $1,000. Other supplies, 220-46098-561900 of $1,000. And miscellaneous contributions, donations of in Fund 220-44470-417-050 of $15,000 from the Family Resource Center, the Lego Grant Fund 220-44470-460098 of $72,726, certified that the funds are available by John Wilcox on October 15th, approved by Chris Bronson, Town Manager, on 10/15/2018.
So moved.
By Councilor Fox, seconded by Councilor Muller. Don, just a quick, this is, I think, good news, right, on this one?
Yeah, we get $25,000 more than we asked for.
Right.
When does that ever happen? And so Lego has been a fabulous partner. You want to talk about great
corporate
neighbors,
partners,
right?
right,
And they have had a fabulous relationship with the Family Resource Center. They fund pretty much everything we do at Stowe, at the Early Learning Center. And we have a very close working relationship with Kite. And so this actually funds a lot of the learning through play activities that we do and our parent education groups and things like that. So it was good news. So we're allocating more money.
That's great
Yep.
news. Yeah, Lego is a great corporate
Yeah.
partner, to your point.
Yep.
Any questions for Don on this?
Yeah, just a comment, and that is, I did the tour of the facility a couple weeks ago, and I went into, I forget what they call it, it's like the science center.
Oh, the Play Lab.
Play Lab,
Yes, the
yeah.
Play
they
Lab.
had air chutes where they shoot things out, and wheels and gears and pulleys and belts and all sorts of things like you would see at the science center. Sandbox and the whole 9 yards. It's a great facility.
It's like a discovery museum right in our own little facility.
It's fantastic. You guys do a great job. Thank you.
Well, I have to give props where props are due. A lot of the stuff, the gear walls and everything, came out of the tech classes at the high school. So we are really, it's really a town-wide effort to make that place shine.
Kids love it there,
Yeah.
though. They were all
I
running
love
into
it.
that
It's a
room.
great place to have a meeting.
All right. As long as you're hosting.
No problem. I'll make the coffee.
Thank you, Don, very much. Roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crissati.
4.
Counselor Davis.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
There's 10 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Don.
Sure.
Item F under miscellaneous, resolution to authorize the town manager to enter an agreement with the Connecticut State Department of Education. Resolve that town manager Christopher W. Bronson is authorized to enter and to amend contractual instruments subject to review and approval by the acting town attorney in the name and on behalf of the town of Enfield with the State Department of Education. The State of Connecticut Department of Education for the Child and Adult Care Food Program, in parentheses CACFP, and to affix the corporate seal, submitted on October 15, 2018, by Don Homer Bouthier, Director of Social Services. By Councilor Muller, seconded by Councilor Crissati. This is just Don, I know this is just to put Chris's name to replace the former town manager, pretty much.
Yes, and
Yep.
so the CACFP program provides us reimbursement for the meals we provide at the Adult Day Center and at the Child Development Center, and it is a source of revenue for us on a regular basis.
Very cool.
Yep.
Hearing none discussion, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crissati.
4.
Counselor Davis.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
There's 10 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Item G, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Item G, discussion resolution authorizing the town manager to enter an agreement with the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. Whereas in the best interest of the town of Enfield to enter in an agreement with the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection for the Still Meadow Neighborhood Study Grant, in parentheses agreement, be it resolved that Christopher W. Bronson, town manager, is duly authorized to enter into and sign the agreement on behalf of the town of Enfield, subject to the review and approval of the acting town attorney. Christopher W. Bronson is further authorized to provide such additional information and execute such other documents as may be required by the state or federal government in connection with the agreement, and to execute any amendments, recessions, revisions thereto, subject to the review and approval of the acting town manager. Be it resolved that the town clerk is authorized to impress the seal of the town of Enfield on the agreement and in such document, amendment, recession, or revision. By Deputy Mayor Suzak, seconded by Councilor Sakala. Again, this is one, I'll give it to you, but you're basically replacing the former town manager's name.
Yes, this has been ongoing. It expired the 17th. It will be re-signed, and I think it goes to the 2022, and this is to continue with the monitoring and filters for those homes in that area. It's being paid for by the DEEP and the state.
Hearing none discussion, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crissati.
4.
Counselor Davis.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Counselor Falk.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
4.
There's 10 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Moving on to item 16, public communications. Does anyone like to speak for the council at this time? Jack? Welcome, sir. Is it bright?
No. Jack Sheridan, 7 Buchanan Road. We were talking about the Moody's rating in Enfield, but we didn't talk about the state rating. And if this thing were to go through, the state rating is in the dumps, and that would cost us a fortune, and that includes me and everybody else in the state who would then be obligated. It's a project that built a new project that's not necessary. We could do the whole thing for much less, 15 million probably. And the other thing is, no one addressed the revenue from the Opera House players using the Fermi School. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Just given the hour, I can address, I believe that they, like anybody else, had to comply with the joint facilities policy. I will confirm, but I had checked on that, and I believe they are paying the rent that they should under that policy like anybody else. I'll confirm it tomorrow, but that's my understanding.
Our apologies, Jack, right? You asked that question. Yeah. Thank you. Yep. Anyone else like to speak for the council? Declare public communications is closed. On item 17, council communications. None.
Can we make it less cold in here next meeting, please? Maria and I freeze.
Not till November, the heat doesn't go on. Motion to adjourn. So moved. By Councilor Falk, seconded by Councilor Deputy Mayor Suzak. All those in favor? Opposed? We have 10 in favor,